Welcome back to the Rodcast. Got a great show planned for you today. Monumental changes on the college football front. We told you the financial framework and the future framework of major college sports is changing, and it is changing fast. We now have roster limits, or reported roster limits that will be approved for all the major sports. We'll get into that and talk about what that means for, of course, the 40 acres, but all of college football and major college sports. We'll also get into what has become a viral moment in the college football realm from Big Ten media days. UCLA head coach actually made an infamous debut at Big Ten media days. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on in the show. We'll also get to some NFL news, notes, and nuggets coming out of training camp. There's a Cowboys survey taken of Cowboys fans. We'll go over some of those results coming up. There's more discussion on the deal for Dak Prescott and how it could be a record-setting deal. We'll get into that coming up next hour. We got Rod's rant of the day. We also will get into some Texas football conversation and go behind the burnt orange curtain. Still looking at some of the trends that Texas will be seeing in the SEC. We'll go over some of the top concepts, some of the most successful concepts in the SEC, and which one of those concepts are concepts and staples in Sark's offense, and how successful they are compared to what Sark has had in this time in the Big 12. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. We go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas football. We also got your usual favorites coming up on the show. We got Who Said That? We got Off the Record. We got What the Facts, What the Stats. Topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day, loaded as usual on the Rodcast. Before we do any of that, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He is one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure this man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good. We have made it to Thursday. Olympics are kind of starting already. There's already some events.
Action on yesterday.
There's some action happening, and so we've seen a little bit of that. We need is we're closing in. We're a week away from the first football game, Rod.
That's wild. I can't even really wrap my brain around that.
Now,
honestly.
I'll be clear. It is the Hall of Fame game, and
it's preseason.
It is, and it's a Hall of Fame game. It's not even preseason football. It's preseason football. It is the worst game of the year, but it is football. And it is a week away. That is, it feels like it's early. It feels like it is, but I'm here for it.
It actually is because the NFL is shortening the offseason.
Yes.
The NFL is short. They've done that intentionally. They keep expanding their footprint. So now, in college football is doing it too, by the way.
Yep.
So we're playing football longer, and then we talk about it more in the offseason.
Yes.
And so it does feel like and it is literally the off season is shrinking. And I think it's going to shrink even more because we talked about it yesterday. They're going to get 18 games. And then they're going to add another bye week when they do that. It was 18 games.
Yeah.
And so you're going to add another 2 weeks onto this thing. And college football, by the way, is like, hey, man, we're adding on to our season too. They're going to, I believe they're going to compete with the NFL in one of those weekends, one of those wild card weekends, I believe. But that's just, you know what? And I'm fine with it. I love a short off season. And when your team is good, which the Texans and the Longhorns are, it's even shorter.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And much more anticipation. Dreading the start of the season, like, well, I guess we're doing that again, aren't we?
There you go. Less dread. More joy, less dread.
Yes. It's always a good thing. I'll tell you, he brings joy every morning. My co-host, he's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Thank you for the intro, brother. As always, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll get into the weeds just a little bit. I've been looking at some of the most successful play concepts in the SEC, situationally and overall. Third down passing concepts in the SEC. Clark Brooks does a great job of breaking down some of that SEC stuff. So I took some of his information and some of his breakdowns from the SEC data. He really does a really good job with some of the data insight from his site. So I took some of that stuff and compared it to cross-referenced it, if you will, with Texas's offense in my notes and found out which one of these successful play concepts that are most successful in the SEC are also staples in Sark's offense. That he runs a lot, that he runs really well, better actually than the success rates that you see in the SEC for those exact same plays. Now, they're not always called the same thing, but if you look at them and break them down, they're basically the same same route combinations, and they're trying to achieve the same thing with the same hacks and cheat codes. So whether it be a bootleg, rollout, whether you're talking about play action pass. So we'll go over those. There are a few of those concepts I want to get into, and we'll do that when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. Coming up here, though, we got to start with the new framework of major college sports, which is being worked out, and they're trying to do it expeditiously because 25-26 will be the start of the new financial framework of college football. They'll start sharing revenue with the college student athletes. They'll also have to pay, have a salary cap. There'll be a certain amount they'll share, and they're getting rid of scholarship restrictions. Now it's just going to be roster limits. So getting closer to more of a professional model. So we'll talk about that too coming up here in this segment. Before we do any of that, though, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davidson, the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game against the A's 8-1 in their final trip to the Oakland Coliseum. Hunter Brown picked up another quality start and his 9th win of the season, pitching 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and only allowing 1 run. Alex Bregman reached base 3 times with 2 RBIs as part of the Astros' 4-run 7th. Houston now takes a day off before an interleague series with the Dodgers at Minute Maid Park starting Friday. And the Rangers got their 3rd straight win of the White Sox 10-2. Nathan Eovaldi, whose name has been started to included in trade rumors over the last few days, had a solid outing, pitching 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits with 10 strikeouts, earning his 7th win of the season. Corey Seager hit a home run in the 1st, and then the Rangers started to open up a lead with 2 runs in the 5th and another run in the 6th before blowing the game wide open with a 6-run 8th inning. Max Scherzer will get the start for the Rangers today after leaving his last start early due to arm fatigue, only throwing 53 pitches. If the Rangers can sweep the White Sox, they would be within a game of 500 for the first time since June 2nd. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, Patrick, thank you for the Horn Headlines. I appreciate those. Okay, let's get right to it. The big news in college football. This was reported yesterday by Ross Dellinger. I believe he was the first one over at Yahoo Sports to throw it out there. And we've known this was coming for a while. They just hadn't really decided what the actual number was going to be. That they were going to get rid of scholarship restrictions, and they were going to now replace those with roster limits. So here's basically how it works. The new revenue sharing model for the 25-26 academic year. So this thing is coming fast. The scholarship restrictions are done. Those are eliminated. Schools are now permitted to offer scholarships to the entirety of their rosters, but there will be roster limits. They have not been yet approved by the House settlement, like the House settlement terms. They got to be approved with all that. That's something that has to go through the settlement, the antitrust settlement, but I believe that'll get done. At this point, I believe that'll get done in the next couple of weeks, just so that teams and programs can start preparing for this new model. So football's new this new roster limit, since there's no scholarship restriction anymore, used to be 85 scholarship restriction. Now it's going to be a roster limit of 105. So you get 20 more scholarships for football. For baseball, with a current scholarship restriction of 11.7, now they have a roster limit of 34. The scholarship spots for softball and volleyball. Softball, you were at 12. That's going to increase to 25. Volleyball will increase to 18. It says here. It's actually, so man, baseball, that's huge. I mean, 11.7 to 34. That's a hell of an increase. And here is the rule that I believe is going to make even a bigger difference than the roster limit now. It'll be even more impactful. So equivalency sports, this is a term that I had to go look up. All the sports now will be considered equivalency sports. That means partial scholarships can be distributed to players in all the sports. in your major sports now. It used to be, baseball, that was a big thing, the partial scholarships. Now football can give partial scholarships too. So can basketball.
So yeah, if you have a walk on that you're not really, but you're like, we'll get your books.
We'll get you some. Yeah.
We'll get you some. We'll get your home. We'll get your room and board or something like that.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So honestly, and that gives you a lot of flexibility as a program now. You can be very creative in how you want to construct your roster.
Yeah.
Because now you can say, okay, we're going to have this many whole scholarship athletes. They get full scholarship athletes. And then we'll have a certain number of scholarships that will divide up as partial scholarships. And schools like Texas, you can supplement the rest with NIL opportunities. You can supplement the rest in other ways, other creative ways. And they haven't really been specific or specified how NIL is going to work with all this too, but I'm assuming that'll be part of it. So right now you can supplement that partial scholarship with NIL, much like baseball does already. And you can do that with, say, Texas wants to have 85 scholarship guys like they had before, but now you got the 20 extra scholarships with the scholarship with the roster limit. And you could decide, all right, you know what? We want to have 90 scholarship guys. We're going to bump it up to 90 because we can afford it. And then we're going to have 15 scholarships that we're going to basically divide up and turn into partial scholarships for guys. So you can bring it, and then you can divide that up and bring on how many guys you want to do it that way. I don't know exactly how they want to do it. It's like I said, it leaves it open for you to be really creative in how you want to build your roster. I'm assuming this means walk-ons are not a thing, because walk-ons, the whole term walk-on meant you were bringing in someone who wasn't on a scholarship. Now that these guys can get partial scholarships, I imagine they'll just get partial, so there'll be no more walk-ons.
At Texas maybe, but I think at other places there'll still be plenty of walk-ons.
Well, you could, but yeah, major universities you could, but it's but
that's what I'm saying is if you're
gonna lose out on guys who are preferred walk-ons. The whole point of walk-ons is to try to get a preferred walk-ons and quality walk-ons, right? To build up your scout teams. Well, you may get walk-ons, but you're not going to get quality walk-ons because now they can go somewhere else and get a partial.
No, I get that, but yeah,
you're not going to get a Taft Daddy anymore, because Taft Daddy will go somewhere and get like a partial.
I'm not saying Big Ten and SEC, but I'm saying if you start to go down and you go Mountain West, there are going to be walk-ons in the Mountain West.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm talking about major college sports, because the truth is most of these teams won't even be able to afford this. The truth is, because you realize the revenue sharing deal is going to be a $20 million a year that these teams have got to come up with a part of the annual revenue sharing deal, and then they're going to have a salary cap as a part of this too. The truth is, this is going to be more of a separation for the have and the have-nots. It will be good for the mid-major programs and the lower-tier programs, because at least now they'll be offering full scholarships, and then there'll be major power programs that'll be offering a half a scholarship to a really good player, and he'll say, you know what, I got to take the full scholarship. I got to go take it full, or unless they're offering some absurd amount of NIL dollars to supplement the partial scholarship that they're going to give them. I actually have no idea how they're going to do it. If I was Texas, I would try to max out. I'd probably go 100 scholarships and then 5 kind of partials. Like, I don't know how I would do it, but I would go with as much of the advantage. I would maximize as much of the advantage as you can, and the advantage would be how many scholarship guys can you afford? That's basically.
And then, do we know what the structure of revenue sharing is actually going to be? Does anybody know what that's going to be yet?
It says here, many schools are preparing to increase scholarships significantly and can count as much as $2.5 million of additional scholarships toward the annual revenue sharing cap. According to this report, is expected to begin at around $21.5 million.
But I'm saying, so my question is on the revenue sharing. Is revenue sharing equal across a conference? Is it equal across a division, or is it equal, or is it school to school?
The annual revenue sharing cap is expected to steadily increase to as much as $25 million in the next 3 years.
Okay.
And it says here, it says the sharing of revenue with athletes will exceed $30 million a year, a figure reported on Yahoo Sports in May. The annual revenue sharing cap is expected to steadily increase to as much as $25 million next 3 years. The cap, based on the average of power school revenue streams, fluctuates as revenue increase. as revenues increase. So actually, the truth is, I don't know if they know exactly how they're gonna cap it and how they're going to determine what it is year to year.
Yeah, because
I'm not sure they know yet.
Because there's weird parts of it of revenue sharing of, okay, if I have 90 players on my team, do they make more per player than a team that has 105? Because we're still sharing the same amount of revenue, but with less people. So they make more. Is that a way to get people in to say we're keep having our roster at 90 so everybody makes more in revenue sharing? Is there, if you don't have a sport, is the revenue sharing the same as, I don't know, like there's just a lot of questions in the financial of when you start to talk about partial scholarships and what people can make in the back end of revenue sharing, depending on where they go, that you could find other little ways to make sure to up people on what money they can make.
Yeah.
It's just, and we won't know until it's all laid out. And even then, it'll probably take us 2 years to figure it out.
Yeah, no, you're right. It said to maintain compliance with federal Title IX law, any scholarship increases in men's sports will likely need to be replicated on the women's side, driving up additional costs. But not all programs can afford to add so many additional scholarships. Some administrators are in the process of tiering their sports by decreasing investment on certain programs and increasing investment in others. This includes staff and salary cuts, reduction in scholarships from Olympic sports. So yeah, I don't know how every program is going to keep up with this, because you're asking a lot of programs to come up with an additional 15 or 20 million dollars in revenue. Now, it's not, these programs operate, they operate on a profit basis, so they are making profit. But that's a lot of revenue to come up with, and they can come up with it creatively. You can sell rights to your field and put logos on the field and other things. It'll be on jersey soon. I'm sure they'll be creative in how they can generate revenue, but that's a big revenue gap that a lot of programs now have to figure out a way to bridge and close that gap. So that's the latest. I will say this. I think now, if you're a school like Texas, all these things they're a huge advantage for you. Like none of these changes are going to hurt you. You could basically now work it out where you can have a practice squad now. Like, you know what I mean? Where you could essentially work it out where you almost like an NFL team, you can have like 10 guys that are just kind of practice squad developmental guys. And I think you may get some teams, you have different roster construction methods. I think some teams may decide, yeah, you know what? Now I can afford, I'll go 90 guys on scholarship, and I'll have like 15 guys on practice squad. Or you'll decide, some programs will decide, you know what? Most of my guys I'm going to use for these extra scholarships, I'm going to use them for O linemen and D linemen, and I'm going to use it to develop them, because now I might have some time where I can actually develop these guys, and they're going to use that basically as their practice squad to develop O line and D line, because it takes longer.
Yeah.
Right. Guys can play early when they're at skill position, wide receiver, DB, running back, hell, even quarterback now. Still takes a while to develop a good O-line. Look at Texas, right? They're still developing their O-linemen, trying not to lose any of those guys. And we see what happened with the D-linemen too. It takes a little while, right? Before Texas D-linemen, Coburn and Ojimo, and then Sweat and Murphy, took a little while before those guys really got a chance to develop their bodies, transform their bodies, get into the weight room, dietitian, all that. And this may give you a way to develop your own method of a pipeline and a developmental system for line play, especially. I mean, it's a different ways you can do it. There are a lot of different ways I think teams will approach now roster construction, with now the roster limits as opposed to the scholarship restriction, which was at 85. What do you do with your extra 20 scholarships? And that's really going to determine, I think, the advantage that a lot of programs can get with this. And some teams and I heard Deion say he doesn't even want them. He's like, no, I don't want to fulfill all of the 100 scholarships. I think at the time he said 100. He said he's at the extra 15. He said he would still get 85, and he would just leave himself some flexibility with the 15 to do whatever he wanted to do. If you need to grab a player, you grab a player.
I think Deion too is much more in the camp of, I'd rather pay the top guys a lot of money and figure it out with the rest than pay everyone equally. I don't think Deion necessarily wants to pay the bottom of the bench guy the same as, which you wouldn't, but I think with equity and everything else, he says, I want to make sure that if we're doing revenue sharing, everything else, my top guys get paid, because I want to get top guys. and I don't want to have them weighted down by these other people.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's he basically, I think kind of his premise was he said, I want dogs on my roster, and there aren't 100 dogs out there that
now
need to be on my roster.
we're also on the page that Deion Sanders may not be coaching next season. He says he is, but he may also just be like, no, Shedeur got drafted, I'm good. I'm done.
I think he's the coach.
I think he will too, but I don't know how many more seasons he will after that.
I think he wants. I think Deion actually wants to coach. I think he actually.
But this is
wants to coach.
I think he does too. But I think if he goes 5 wins this year with Shedeur, and then after that, Travis Hunter and Shedeur gone, and then you have to build around guys that aren't your guys anymore, and you got to go find. Then it may wear on him a little bit.
It could wear on him.
Who knows? He could start working out, and he'll be going good.
Deion's got something nobody else has in college football, though. He's a true star as a head coach, like a true celebrity as a head coach. Nobody's got that. There's never been a Hall of Fame football player to come back and coach college football. They don't do it.
Yep.
They go to the league because they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
They don't have to. The NFL will give them a shot because they're a Hall of Famer. And Deion took a different route. So, yes, I agree. It's going to be tougher for him without Shedeur and without Travis Hunter. By the way, he recruited Travis Hunter. All right. If you can recruit the best player in the country to an HBC, you can recruit.
Yeah.
All right. He can recruit. So he can recruit. That's why he keeps turning over his roster every damn year because he knows I can recruit guys to bring a roster. That's a problem. That's not good for chemistry and continuity, but he can recruit. So that celebrity power that he has, the fact that Colorado was one of the top 10 most watched programs in college football last year, and yet they didn't even make a bowl game, just shows you that kind of celebrity. They're not watching for Shedeur Sanders. Nobody gives it. I mean, he's not on a video game. And Travis Hunter's great. Those guys are great. But it's Deion that brought the eyeballs.
No,
it's him. But he sells and markets program. So my point is, he'll always have that to recruit. How he uses that post Shedeur and everything, and that's a question you're talking about his motivation.
I'm talking about his motivation.
I think he wants to prove to everybody out there that he can coach. Will he hang it up after he wins a conference title or something?
But what if he can't? That's the question is.
That remains to be seen. But then he'll get pushed out. I don't think it'll be him quitting. I think he'll get pushed out.
Okay.
I think people will be like, you know what? You're a circus, man. You're a sideshow. You just, you're all style and no substance. So he'll get pushed out. That'll happen over time. But I'm just saying, I don't think he'll quit. I think right now he knows like he's got something nobody else can offer. No matter how bad, God, he's winning 4 games and recruiting like 5 stars. Like nobody's ever been able to do that.
No,
nobody's ever been able to lose like he's losing and still recruit 5 stars. You can't do that unless you are celebrity coach. So that's why he can turn it around pretty quickly because he can get another Shedeur because he's a celebrity.
No, I
think
that one
kid that really wants to play for celebrity Deion Sanders.
I think he can get players. I just don't know if he can build a team yet. And that'll be the big question is, can he build a team? And we'll see this season. Is it a team or is it a bunch of players on the same, like it's that Team USA thing? Is it a bunch of players who are really talented, but nobody likes each other? No one wants to be there. There's a very big hierarchy and no one really is into it. So it's just not going to work. Or can he start to learn of the mistakes he's making and build and then build a program?
No, I'm with you. I don't know either. I think, like I said, I remember when he hired him, I said, it doesn't matter if Deion fails. Your program's going to be so much better.
Oh, yeah.
After he leaves. If he fails, if he's terrible and he doesn't win any games, or if he's there for only 2 years and decides, hey, he's going to upgrade, your program's going to be better. Why? Because you're going to get so much media attention. It's going to be worth it in the free media. What is Colorado getting? So much media attention. People talk Colorado. They talk about like the 3 best teams in college football and talk about Colorado nationally.
I mean, well, if you don't have Deion,
and on top of that, you get your free media. On top of that, your recruiting is going to kill. Your roster is going to be upgraded. Whether he can turn into a team or not and win games, you're going to have a talent upgrade because he's going to bring in better players. So when he leaves, whether he's terrible or whether he's really good, your program's going to be better off. And I said, that's why it's a good hire. That's why you should hire him, because all y'all are hiring these coaches anyway who stick around for 3 years. Y'all fire them and get somebody else, and your program is worse off than it was because that guy didn't build the roster, didn't bring in talent, and nobody watched your program because y'all were bad. People will watch Deion even when he's losing. They'll watch him.
No, I mean,
you're going to watch him. Nobody else can guarantee you that. Nobody else can give you that.
No. I also say he's already made it worthwhile because he got him in the Big 12.
Also that.
Because if he's not there, then and Colorado goes and is a 2-win team again, then they may end up similar to what Oregon State and Washington State are, which is the unwanted. And those teams end up and the Pac-12 dissolves and you're trying to figure out where you're going. And maybe you're in the ACC now and flying across and your costs are exponentially more because you're going across. So the fact that he got him into the Big 12, and we know that they were one of the first teams Big 12 offered because Yormark understood what the deal was. Because Yormark's a marketing guy. So he understood I want to get Deion in. So that alone is well worth the hire. Plus all those things you mentioned. I'm not saying it was a bad hire at all. I'm just curious to see if he can take that next step as a coach.
Oh, I don't know that. Yeah, I really don't. I don't know. I would bet that this year they make a bowl game. It'll be tough, but I think they can make a bowl game.
Yeah.
They got the two best players arguably in the conference.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, they sound like they got the two best players in the conference and at the most important position. And everybody's like, they're terrible. I'm like, I don't know. I can't count out a team that has the two best players in the conference. When was the last time you just say that and be like, that team sucks, two best players in the conference, but they're terrible? It's like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to analyze that and say that they can't at least make a bowl game. They won't at least be competitive. And they're going to win the Big 12. I don't think they can be that good. And maybe they can make the kind of turnaround. And you don't know because the roster's brand new.
Exactly.
All of our breakdown and analysis of Colorado, all of it's inaccurate because we have no idea who the hell's on that roster.
It's a new system.
And how they're going to play together.
It's a new system, new coaching system, new system, new players.
Yeah, you have no idea, and we still don't know if Deion is a good coach. We don't know. We know he's fun to keep up with. I know he knows ball. I don't know if he's a good coach.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I know he can recruit. I don't know if he's a good coach, but like I said, it's fascinating because he's doing things that nobody's ever done, and it's a unique situation that we've never ever seen.
Exactly.
So I'm not betting on success. Like I said, I may bet they make a bowl game this year. I'm not betting on ultimate success though. But like I said, I think as you just pointed out too, it was a win for Colorado. That was a win for the university. 100%. No doubt about it. No matter what happens in the future. But it's going to be fun to see what they do in the Big 12. All right. Yeah, so there you go. NCAA setting roster limits. What is your program going to do with that extra 20 scholarships in football? Really, that's, in baseball, it's important too. I mean, baseball probably is, I think they are probably the happiest about the changes and benefit the most of any of the major sports.
Yeah. I mean, that
to go from 11.7 to 34.
I'll tell you this: that arms race between Texas and Texas A&M in baseball,
it's about to get crazy
because A&M's got money too.
Oh yeah,
and they're I don't know if there's anything more when they know they're going to go. We want to compete in football. We want to be there, but we think we can really compete in baseball. And they just took our coach, and man, would we like to beat him. We like to beat him every year. So I can imagine that is going to be big for them try and get every single player you can, try and stack that roster as much as you can, which Texas is going to try and do too. But I don't know how many schools are going to be able to completely stack their roster in baseball when they're trying to focus on football. They're trying to focus on other things. It feels like some of these sports are going to get a little bit left behind in some of these schools.
Oh yeah. They just say you're going to tier your sports. You'll tier them. Yeah. I mean, Texas, we know football is at the top of the list, and then there's probably baseball and then basketball, but volleyball, Texas women's basketball, softball. I mean, so Texas has the resources where they can support a lot of sports. That's what the Texas One Fund's about. But you're right, most institutions will not be able to support all those sports simultaneously with the new roster limits and max those out in scholarships.
Yeah,
you don't see a lot of schools go, man, we sticking at 85 here. That's kind of what our model is built on. And we'll have extra scholarships in case we need them, but pretty much our range is 80 something. That's what we can do. That's what we can manage. And I think you have some teams like Texas that
I can tell you,
what? I'm taking. We'll take those extra 15 and we'll use them. We'll spend it on offensive linemen. We'll just start stockpiling linemen or D linemen.
And I'll tell you, in basketball, it's a weird thought because the walk-ons in basketball, for the most part, are practice players. They're not going to play a ton of games, but they're really there for the practice, and they're perfectly fine there. They're good. They're always good academically. They're always good at a lot of things, but they're not necessarily the best basketball players, not the most athletic. And so if you say, well, you want to bring in 15 good players, well, they're not all going to be able to get on the court. So they're going to be unhappy because they're not going to be playing in games. Are they okay if you're a scholarship player to come in and just be a practice guy and really put out the effort? Are they going to play where they pass the ball and are okay in practice running on a team where you don't shoot? I don't care how wide open you are in practice. You never shoot that basketball. Your job is to pass the ball and run because we're running drills and you're not going to play, so you're not supposed to be shooting. And so just certain things like that. Are you going to be okay that you're basically used as a pawn in the game of everything else? Or do you still keep some guys like that on the roster? That'll be, I mean, it's kind of the same in football, but there's just a lot more positions.
That's why I think in football, I would use the extra one for linemen.
Yeah.
O linemen and D linemen. Because I think those are the guys who are, you want them to stick around because you want to develop them and you want to transform their bodies physically, weight room, strength and conditioning, dietitian, nutritionist, all that. So it takes a while. The skill guys, I think, are more likely to jump into the portal because they want to play 100%. Now. And they transition quicker anyway in terms of from high school to college because they don't have to necessarily transform their bodies. It's more their speed and their skill and their explosiveness on the outside. So I would use it basically as a practice squad, in terms of football, practice squad for O linemen and D linemen, and I just kind of stockpile them and develop them. And if they want to leave, then that's fine. But I would share with them the vision, because they know that's. All those old linemen, they know it. Very rarely you get a Kelvin Banks that can play as a freshman on the O line, right? Those guys need a little bit of time. That's kind of what I would look at it from that perspective as a developmental tool for those extra scholarships. But I don't know what teams are going to do. Practice squad sounds really good to me, but you're right. It's going to be fascinating to see what they do. And now they can do partial scholarships. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, if that's an advantage, but it definitely gives you some flexibility and freedom to work with. All right, there you go. So NCAA, the new framework of major college sports deciding on roster limits for all the major sports and some scholarship increases across the board. All right, we come back. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk some Texas football. What are some of the most successful plays and concepts from the SEC that are also staples in Sark's offense, and does Sark run them better than they actually ran in the SEC? Higher success rates for him than you see in the SEC on those very same plays. We'll discuss that. We go behind the burnt orange curtain. Next segment right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. I did see yesterday via social media, Hudson Card has won the starting job at Purdue. They just put out a tweet that said QB1 on it.
Nice.
Nice. Video of Hudson Card, which is pretty cool. And I saw that Malik Murphy, he's there. The quarterback competition that he's in right now, it's going to spill over into the fall. But there are a lot of folks out there that hope and expect that he's going to win that job. He hadn't won it just yet, though, so that's still up in the air. But I think it would be quite an accomplishment for Sark if he ends up with, multiple quarterbacks that he coached that played under him, starting for different programs around the country. It'd be really impressive him being a quarterback guy. So we'll wait and see. But I think Malik Murphy's going to win that job. I saw an article about him. Like if the article was, I thought he had won the job. That's why I was like, oh, maybe he must won the job. Yeah. An ESPN article all about him. It sounds like, and then at the end of the article, it said the competition will carry over into the final. I was like, okay, well, so I think they expect him to win it. Like while they're writing articles in ESPN about him, if they don't expect him to win a job. But I even saw this because Manny Diaz is going to be coaching him. This is how Manny Diaz won over Malik Murphy recruiting. Manny Diaz, like back in the day, early on his coach career, he was at a camp, and he was just guest coaching, if you will, at a camp. And Malik Murphy was at the camp, and he had a photo of a young Malik Murphy, like still. He kept the photo and like sent a screenshot of the photo to Malik Murphy. And Malik Murphy's like, dude, you still got the photo? He's like, oh, yeah, man. I always knew you were going to be great. Done.
How many photos do you think he has?
I have no exactly. Was that real? But does he keep all of the photos? Like what? And he's like, yeah, I remember you, man. And he apparently had a photo of a young Malik Murphy from that camp. And then Malik was like, oh man, that just got us off on the right foot. And I was like, that is a hell of a pitch, man. Good for you, man. I don't know how you did that. Like, did you just find somebody that had a photo, or you actually keep the photo? Now I need to know.
Does he? But right? I'm curious. Both he has photos of like everyone. If he's just got folders like cabinets at his house that are just photos, and like basically, if an FBI unit came in, they'd be like, he's got photos of all these kids in his house.
Why does he have photos of all these kids?
No, it's for recruiting. Like, no, it's for recruiting. Oh sir.
So why are they on 12? Why are they 12? What's going on here? Yeah. No, trust me. I was thinking, I was like, wow, he kept that photo. I mean, it's a hell of a compliment. But I'm with you. Did he really keep just Malik's photo, or is he really specific, or is he keeping lots of photos?
Or is he keeping anyone who has like giant? Because Malik Murphy's a big dude, so maybe he was like really big as a kid, and they were like, you know what? Anyone who's like already like 5'10" and above, if there's like 11 years old, let's go ahead and keep their picture.
No, there's no doubt that was the case. I totally agree with you on that. I think he probably was looking like a beast even at as a preteen. But yeah, that it's an ESPN article about it.
If they look like that Andy Reid at the punt, pass, and kick competition.
That is one of the all-time greatest photos ever.
Oh, it's
and
so
they're
good.
like, he was just. And how did Andy? I mean, that just lets you know, because I don't think he played football at a high level or anything, but he was bigger than all the other kids. He was way bigger than everybody.
He looked like an adult.
He did. He did. Andy Reid has always been big, man. Grayson Loftus is the young man who Malik Murphy is competing with. But like I said, I think Malik Murphy's got the inside track there to be the starter. Okay, let's get to some of this discussion here, some of the breakdown I've done. So this is what I've been doing. I've been looking at the SEC trends. I've been sharing with you guys different trends in the SEC, different conference signatures, different concepts and plays that are popular in the SEC, just trying to learn the ecosystem. And I came across some a great breakdown from a data scientist about the most successful plays in the SEC. And overall, I think there were 16 plays that were listed as the top most successful plays in the SEC, listed with their success rates. Success rate, essentially in football, just real quick, is when you need you gain at least 50% of the yards needed on first down to convert, at least 70% of the yards needed to convert on second down, and 100% of the yards needed to convert on third and fourth down. So when you gain that percentage of yards on those specific downs, that's considered a plus in the success rate, right? And how often you achieve that at least that on every down. So looking at success rates and then comparing, those plays in the SEC that are also staples in Sark's offense, because not all of them translate, that are also staples in Sark's offense, and then comparing the success rates. Is because if Sark's not successful running those really popular concepts in the SEC, if not successful running them in the Big 12, I don't think they're going to translate to the SEC. Now, maybe they would, but that's just kind of my working theory here. It's like if he's really successful running these plays in the Big 12, and they're also the same kind of concepts that are popular and successful in the SEC, and then boom, I think it would translate. So that's what I'm talking about here. So let's start with third down passing concepts for Texas. There are, if you go look at it, Texas runs 6 of the top 9 most successful third down passing concepts in the SEC. But from my count, only in 4 of those 6 do they have a higher success rate than the success rate in the SEC running those very same plays. Right? So, and those are the only plays that I looked at. Like I said, they had a lower success rate than the average in the running those very same plays than the average in the SEC. That I don't think it would translate. Can't run it in the Big 12. You ain't gonna run it in the SEC. All right. So here's the all curls. Strangely enough, as simple as it is, all curls is the third. Just run. Everybody runs down the field, run curl routes, right? 12 to 15 yards. That is the third most successful basic passing concept in the SEC, and Texas runs it a lot. The success rate of the curl routes, all curls in the SEC, that kind of route combination, 47% when Sark runs all curls. On third down, how about this? 100% success rate on third and fourth down. 83% success rate overall. They should run more curls. Sark doesn't like curls. He's on the record saying, I don't like stop routes. I don't like routes that turn my wide receivers, that basically my wide receivers and the speed that he covets, right, are running the same speed as a defensive back. That's why he likes movement routes on the move. Why recruit all this damn speed if you're going to have a guy stopping all the time? Might as well recruit big, giant receivers that can big body and go and, win 50-50 balls like Colin Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey. You're going to run stop routes all the damn time. So he doesn't like them, but they're really successful. And I think the reason they're successful is because his opponents, they also know he don't like them. He doesn't like it, so he's not usually running them. So when they run him, he's like, damn, I thought he was going to run a post route. I thought he was going to run a dig route. It's like, nope, he just ran a curl route. So really successful. He should run more curls in the SEC because they work. They also have what they call it's a Lucy slant. It's the Lucy I always was told is a cousin of Lookie. Lookie is just an in route. It's like a quick in route, like a 5-yard, and you just go in and you go, see if you're open, and the quarterback will throw it to you. And Lucy is a cousin of Lookie, and Lucy means you can go back out and go in. But if that's not open, there's a linebacker there, I can drift right on back out. Some people, it kind of looks like a whip route there. Texas calls it a trail shake. It's kind of an option route for that wide receiver. So that concept in the SEC, 42% success rate on third. This is third down passing concepts. Sark is right around 44%. So that's a successful concept for him, very close to the average success rate in the SEC. That's the 4th most successful passing concept on third down in the SEC. Corner smash route. Smash route is when you have 2 receivers to one side. It could be 3, but it's basically a 2 receiver route combination. Outside receiver, farthest receiver outside the number 1 receiver, which is the receiver close to the sideline. You count outside in. That guy runs a quick hitch or sometimes an in. And then the number 2 receiver, the one in the slot, he runs a corner route. They call it a smash concept. Really successful in the SEC on third down. 43% success rate. Sark runs it a little bit differently, but it still has essentially that basic concept in it. He has a wide cross that he runs and a drive route, which is a 7 route with a deep curl. Sark on third and fourth down, 50% success rate on those plays. On the drive route, 86% success rate on third and fourth down on the outright right cross that he runs. So that's right there. I mean, that's another concept that he can run a lot in the SEC that's successful, that Texas runs really well and efficiently and effectively. Corner route, corners and smash concepts. And pretty much those are the successful third down passing concepts that I got that translated from Sark's offense easily to the SEC. And we'll go over some more of those because I got some of the top out of the top 16 most successful plays overall, and we'll go over that next time we go behind the burnt orange curtain and Texas. And within Sark's offense, in terms of similarities, there I found 8 plays in Sark's playbook from my notes that are very similar to the top 16 plays in the SEC based on success rate. Quarterback run game we took out of it that didn't count. So out of those 8 plays, how many did Texas run with a higher success rate than the SEC average? 6 out of the 8. So we'll go over that next time we go behind the burnt orange curtain. These 6 plays that they run that are very similar to the most successful play concepts that are run in the SEC. So we'll get into that too coming up. We go behind the burnt orange curtain again, but I'm trying to do more research and get you guys some knowledge on the ecosystem of the SEC. It's a little bit different than the Big 12. And Sark's probably doing the same research I'm doing. Great minds think alike. We come back. We'll get into the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We'll also drop into, we'll learn what the musically themed day of the week is, and we'll dive into some other sports as well. All of that more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back here on the Rodcast on a Thursday morning, and that means it's a new theme Thursday, playing songs based off of one theme all show long. And today's theme is the Olympics. All the songs today are named like Olympic events. So starting off with
really hard.
Simon and Garfunkel, the boxer. Starting off.
Man, you went to the bottom of the ocean on that.
This is when I had this idea last night, and I said I can find enough songs that do it, and I did, and I like the playlist. It's not bad.
Honestly, that's a lot of hard work, man. I don't even know where
it wasn't that bad. You just looked at events and like, oh, there's only
you gotta have well, your musical knowledge.
If I did not have the musical knowledge, I couldn't think of it. But yes,
I was about to say, because I couldn't do that. No way.
You want to pull the boxer out from Simon and Garfunkel?
No. Maybe Mama said knock you out. I can do some LL Cool J and then kind of relate that to boxing. Like, yeah, but I don't know. That's impressive, brother. That is really impressive.
So we'll see. Well, you don't save it because we got to hit the rest of the songs. There's some, and I'll tell you the ones at the end of the show that we didn't get to, because there's a few that we won't be able to get to probably. But I'll at the end of the show, you could say if you approved of my playlist that are based on
Olympic sport. I'm already impressed. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm already impressed. Like, to even come up with that theme, you challenged yourself, because that's not an easy thing.
No,
you know, that's not an easy theme to execute.
It's
fun.
It's fun.
But it's fun, like putting together like a one of those puzzles.
Yeah, it would be harder. It would be harder if I had to put together 15 songs. It would have been a lot harder. But I only have to put like 5 to 7, so it's not that bad. If it started to get into 15 to 20, then I'd start to stretching a little bit more. But these are pretty on the nose, I think, for most of them. So we'll see as we keep rolling through the list. All the songs having to do with the Olympics. Let's get the big fat poll of the day. Text line's open, 512-447-3776 is the text line number, and we will get this posted up on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
We've been talking a lot about CeeDee Lamb since he is holding out right now, and the top paid wide receiver is the top receivers in the NFL. And so this is not a question of who's the best wide receiver so much, because I feel like that's a little bit, this is one that I'm going to say we're going to get a little bit to fantasy football talk, because this is going to be more related on stats of who do you think will statistically be the guy this year. So I will ask, which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, or Justin Jefferson?
The problem with Justin Jefferson is I probably would draft CeeDee Lamb.
That's where I think CeeDee Lamb's probably the guy as well. Justin Jefferson, you have the problem of it's going to be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy.
And then Miami, they're splitting reps, man. They got a true number 2 in Jalen Waddle now.
And they have a true number two in Cincinnati as well with T. Higgins.
Yeah, you got true number 2s there. There's no true number 2 in Dallas. I mean, Brandon Cooks is the number 2, but he's not a true number 2.
Well, and they also have, they're going to try and run the ball a little bit more in some of these other places. They don't necessarily have the running game in Dallas. So I'm with you. I think CeeDee Lamb is the guy for me personally, but I want to see what everybody else thinks as we get closer to people's fantasy football drafts. Which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? When I was looking through the rankings last night, putting this together, you would see different ones of those listed. Justin Jefferson would have been last season, was a lot of people's number 1.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
But now without the quarterback, he's slipped down a little bit. But these are the top 4 basically across the board.
Okay.
These are the top 4. But they're in different orders depending on which website and who you listen to.
Because everybody's got the different formula. Some depending on the league, right? Some leagues have different rules, and
I mean, and what we're not going to say PPR. We won't go that route. I mean, that's
I say I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
The Cooper Cup, but PPR is points per reception, so you get an extra point for every reception. So guys like Cooper Cup were always better because he would just get targeted all day long.
Well, then that still would be CD then.
Yeah,
honestly,
he's going to get his
targets points per reception. I mean, right? I mean, he got. Okay, first of all, he says, okay, here, how about this with CeeDee Lamb? Last season, he led the NFL in targets, receptions, and finished second in receiving yards behind Tyreek Hill. And second in receiving touchdowns, actually, too. That's crazy. He was so productive last year. It was amazing. He not only led the NFL in receptions, but finished first or second in basically passes caught over 16 yards or more. No receiver caught more third down or fourth down passes than CeeDee Lamb. He tied Tyreek Hill with 31 first down conversions on those receptions, led the NFL in yak yardage, 695 yards after the catch, and tied Amon-Ra St. Brown and Travis Kelce with 35 receptions from week 17 through the playoffs. And they played 2 more games than he did. He was prolific.
Yeah. But I'm
going with CD.
The question is, will CD be able to do it again this year with every defense knowing that CeeDee Lamb is the number 1, 2, and 3 option for this team right now?
Yep. You're right.
And, I mean, still doesn't have a contract.
Yeah, that the contract thing is. Oh, by the way, we'll get into this next segment. The 49ers, Ayuk, it was a hold in. It's a hold in.
It's a hold in.
We learned that. It's a hold in. Yeah, so we got a hold out and a hold in.
They have a hold out and hold in San Francisco.
Yeah, they got it right. They do. They got Trent Williams who's holding out.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he's a veteran.
He's holding out.
I don't want to go in there and
he
play.
Wants to get paid.
You want me to go run O-line drills? Come on now.
Yeah, you're right. He's that very. He's like, man, I'm gonna hold out. I'm gonna be a difficult negotiation until training camp is over. So just don't waste your time.
Yeah. Right now, what you got to do, run routes and catch balls. Oh, so tough, Brandon. Okay.
No, you're right about that. See, this is why the 49ers window, though, it's shrinking fast.
Yeah.
Because all their guys want to get paid, and Brock Purdy about to get paid too.
Yeah.
You can only stockpile this much talent for so long. That's the nature of the CBA. The NFL is designed for you to have a 5-year window. And the truth is the 49ers have cheated their window because of the Brock Purdy thing. It should already be up, but they cheated it with the Brock Purdy and extended it, which is brilliant. But yeah, man, now those guys want to be paid. And they deserve it. So I'm with you. I think CD's the guy, though. I think CD is it for me. All the reasons that we just talked about.
Now, we will say Jamar Chase's numbers will go up because if Joe Burrow plays a full season, did not play a full season last year, you would assume Jamar Chase's numbers would go up with Joe Burrow being there. So his numbers should go up some.
He still had over 1,000 yards.
I agree, but I'm just saying his numbers should still go up, right? Am I wrong?
No, they will. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think they'll go up too. But CD's numbers are going to stay the same, if not go up too. I think. I really do. I think that, especially once they pay him, you think once they pay him, they going to stop throwing the ball? It's like, no. Jerry's going to be like, no. Give it to CD now. I need more CD in my life after they pay him. And they don't have a running game. They have a running game. And Jake Ferguson, to me, is probably going to end up being the actual number 2 in terms of Dak's favorite targets behind CD. And so I think CD is, and that new offense, they do a good job of scheming them open too. So good question there. Topic for the big fat poll today. Who would be your number 1 fantasy wide receiver? Who would you draft number 1 at the wide receiver position in fantasy football? The choices will be up there for you. All right, we'll come back. Well, speaking of NFL, we'll get back to the NFL news, notes, and nuggets. We'll talk wide receiver a little bit because the 49ers got some wide receiver concerns. They got a hold in with Brandon Ayuk. We'll also get into a Cowboys survey from the Athletic, talking about what Cowboys fans think about the season. We'll also discuss Dak Prescott's negotiation. Another NFL analyst thinking Dak's going to get more than $60 million. It's a lot of straight cash, homie. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday here on the Rodcast, and that's where my co-host, the Idillionaire Patrick Davis, does a great job coming up with all the musically themed days of the week, but he has to come up with a really creative one, and this one is especially creative. A new theme Thursday. The theme is the Olympics, which are upon us, and every song or the title of the song references some Olympic sport.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Like this is Born to Run.
Okay, run. There you go. Okay, yeah, I like it. You kept it simple though, too. You didn't get too deep.
I'm not trying to get too far into it. I'm trying to play better songs that are in the world.
I like it. No, I like it. He's like, no, I'm not trying to get too deep on this thing.
Because you also don't want to just play like really obscure bad songs to fit a theme.
Because then that's kind of what I was like, oh man, that's challenging because you're looking for specific sports. You can get really
everything's basically a hit. They're all hits that have references to sports or athletic events at the Olympics, which is running, sprinting.
I like it.
It's Born to Run.
Yeah. Well done. Good stuff. As always, my man Patrick killing it. He also does a great job with the topics for the big fat poll of the day. And that one's already up for you at the Horns X account at the Horn ATX. Give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? You can give us another one on the text line or on X if you want to, but the top four and everything I have read is CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson would be your top four wherever you go. If you have another one that you think is the breakout wide receiver that you would draft over all of them, go ahead and throw that in. Text line 512-447-3776, or you can throw it in at the Horn ATX on X.
All right, yeah, I'm going with CeeDee. I think the rest of Tyreek Hill's got a true number 2 there, and Jalen Waddle. They just paid him, so you got to deal with that. And also Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's going to get all the attention regardless. But I just think ultimately for him, a lot of teams are just going to take take the top off the defense, take the top away from the offense and take that vertical route away from Tyreek Hill. That's what everybody tries to do. So Tyreek Hill, he is what he is, but I just think Jalen Waddle's also going to clog up or at least hog up some of those targets. Jamar Chase also got a true number 2 there, hog up targets. Justin Jefferson doesn't have a true number 2 there, but he didn't have a real quarterback.
He has a number 2 now, but he'll be suspended probably for a game or two. And Jordan Addison. Yeah,
that's true. So he's got that. Yeah, I mean, I think the quarterback thing is probably more the concern.
Plus, they've got a tight end too. I think they've got a good tight end in Minnesota as well. I can't remember the name, but I think they do. Yeah, the quarterback is a problem.
Is Hawkinson there? Is that who it is?
Hawkinson, I think, might be there.
Okay.
So they have Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy are your 2 quarterbacks fighting for the starting job there.
Yeah, and do they want to sit JJ McCarthy and have him develop and kind of as a young QB learn while watching Sam Darnold, or do they just want to throw him out there to the wolves and just let him learn on the fly? We don't know. Either way, I think it'll affect Justin Jefferson's.
I mean, Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts like 4 seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean he was a really high draft pick, so he's always gonna get a lot of chances.
Yeah, I mean, because you say he was Jets, purpose. And then they gave him a few chances in the Jets. Then he goes to the Panthers, and it did not go well. But it didn't go well for anybody on the Panthers. And then he ends up on San Francisco last year, 49ers, but never really gets in because Purdy stays healthy, so he doesn't need to come in. And then ends up now in Minnesota, and it's his job to lose at this point because I think they'd rather sit McCarthy for a year.
Yeah,
unless he knows
he's going to lose the job at one point. Like he knows it's happening. He can only keep it while he's playing well, and if he while he's playing well and they're winning.
But if he plays well, then he can get a job somewhere else.
He could, but I think that ultimately he might be getting toward the end of his rope in terms of chances. Right?
I think so. But if he turns out to if he puts Minnesota in a playoff hunt and plays well all season, then someone's going to pick him up next season.
Is there any evidence that that's going to happen?
No, I don't think so. You told me to bet on that or the other. I think The odds would say the other is probably more likely, but
yeah. So I think more likely is he goes in there and does an average or admirable job. But like I said, if he does that, if he's just an average game manager and they're winning, they'll let him stay in there. I think they'll let him stay in there, and they'll decide, let's let our young quarterback learn, and let's not have him be too traumatized by, having to drink through a fire hose early on and throw him into the fire in the NFL. But if he's not winning, they're going to put JJ McCarthy in there.
Yeah,
that's the way it is.
And someone threw on the text line, asked Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua is now thought of to be the number one there, which is crazy. But people are saying Puka Nacua is going to be the guy. Yeah. So if say Puka Nacua is there, that really lowers Cooper Kupp's value because he's dealt with some injuries, a little bit older. But I mean, I still think Cooper Kupp has value, but a lot of people are really high on Puka.
That's crazy. He was a Triple Crown winner like for 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, the fact he had no respect and then gets everybody's respect, and then like when in 1 year, I was like, nah, never mind, no respect.
Yeah, Puka had that record-breaking rookie season, and after that, everybody forgot about Cooper Kupp there. I'm with you. I don't even know how that's possible, but the man is disrespected once again after basically climbing the ladder and becoming one of the best wide receivers in the game, if not the best wide receiver in the game for a year. And everybody seemed to have forgotten about Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I really, fantasy-wise, I've seen more Puka Nacua stats and stuff out there than I have about Cooper Kupp. I'll admit that. And I'm not even a big-time fantasy guy. All right, there you go. So that's the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. Which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? All right, let's get to the headlines. Let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day. Then we'll come back and we will discuss some NFL topics. We'll get into Cowboys, the Dak deal. There's another NFL analyst saying Dak's going to get north of $60 million. That is a lot of straight cash, homie. We'll get into that, and we'll also talk about some of the other NFL headlines coming out of training camp. But first, the Horn headlines with Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game against the A's 8-1 in their final trip to the Oakland Coliseum. Hunter Brown picked up another quality start in his 9th win of the season, pitching 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and only allowing 1 run. Alex Bregman reached base 3 times with 2 RBIs as part of the Astros' 4-run 7th. Houston now takes a day off before an interleague series with the Dodgers at Minute Maid Park starting Friday. And the Rangers got their 3rd straight win over the White Sox 10-2. Nathan Eovaldi, whose name has started to be included in trade rumors over the last few days, had a solid outing, pitching 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits with 10 strikeouts, earning his 7th win of the season. Corey Seager hit a home run in the first, and then the Rangers started to open up a lead with 2 runs in the 5th and another run in the 6th before blowing the game wide open with a 6-run 8th inning. Max Scherzer will get the start for the Rangers today after leaving his last start early due to arm fatigue, only throwing 53 pitches. If the Rangers can sweep the White Sox, they'll be within a game of 500 for the first time since June 2nd. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. All right, so I was watching NFL Live and saw Louis Riddick on there, and he said something, once again, I thought was a bit surprising, and it kind of echoed the same sentiment that Adam Schefter had earlier this week. Remember, I read that Adam Schefter quote to you guys. Adam Schefter said that he believed that Dak was going to make more than 60 million. I thought 60 million was the number. Right now, the quarterback market, the top of is at 55 million. I thought 60 million is a nice leap. And it seems like they're just casually throwing out there. I don't know if they're just saying it casually because, oh no, he's going to make upwards of or north of. But I wrote it down because Louis Riddick said it too. He said Dak is going to get north of 60. He said I wouldn't bat an eye at it. And he said, was it north of 60? They keep saying north of 60. And the Adam Schefter quote from earlier this week, Adam Schefter, Dak Prescott is going to get a deal north of 60 million a year. It might be more, way more. Keep saying north of 60. So I know he's going to get 60 now, but now the talk is he's going to get more than that. And it's just because the Cowboys have no leverage at all to even keep it at 60. They're basically, I think their belief is that whatever he asked for, they're going to be forced to give it to him because they got no other option, which they don't. But they also, the Cowboys, they put themselves in this position and gave him, a contract with no franchise, with a no franchise tag clause and a no trade clause. And so, and then Dak coming off his best year ever, also a big part of that. He really is in the ideal position for any player in the NFL, especially at his position, a top dollar position like quarterback. So maybe because he has all the leverage, they're throwing out the north of 60. Seems to be that's kind of the talking point, that it's north. Like those are two guys I trust as NFL insiders, and they keep saying north of 60. I'm like, man, right at 60 seems like the mark. But
I know it's I and Jerry will speak to the media today, I believe, is when he is actually going to do his media availability. So maybe you'll get a little bit more info, but my guess is he'll be pretty mum about it and just say we've been working on it. But at a certain point, if you're offering him 63, 64, 65 million, why is the deal not done?
I'm with you, yeah.
I just can't imagine that they're offering him 65 and Dak says, nah, let's wait on it. Like, that seems crazy to me, right?
That seems crazy.
Unless you're not offering guaranteed money and you go 65, but we want out in 2 years. And so the rest of it's not guaranteed, unless there's something crazy like that. If it's standard kind of what everybody else has been getting, percentage-wise of guaranteed in 65 a year, then why is it not done?
Same thing with the CD deal, though. Like, how's the CD deal not done? You know what I mean? But unless CD is asking for as much as Justin Jefferson, and they're not willing to give him that. But honestly, at this point, I'd probably be willing to give him close to Jefferson. Like, man, if you want Justin Jefferson money, just take it. Let's just move on.
That's,
we got to be done. Because you're talking about the difference between like $1.5 to $2 million. You're gonna pay him 33. He's not gonna pay. He's not gonna settle for 30.
No, because at this point, you're talking about Dak and CD combining for $100 million.
Pretty close to it, 95, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 95 to $100 million compared.
Yep.
And so that's fine. But if you're the Cowboys and you know that, and you're seemingly everyone says that you want to get a deal done, and this is what the number is, get it done and move on. I don't know, and hopefully next week we'll be talking about how it got done, and both of those contracts are done and they're moving on. But I mean, at this point, you just still had that little bit of wonder that I thought they were going to get them done. But the more you hear about what the numbers are, and that everybody keeps saying it's going to get done at that number, I don't know why it's not done yet. You wonder if the Cowboys are at least thinking, yeah, maybe we'll just blow it up.
That's crazy.
I mean, because
no, you have to wonder. I'm with you, because otherwise, why wouldn't one of these deals be done already?
Because if we keep hearing, well, they're not close on either one of the numbers. Dak wants 65, but we're not hearing Dak wants well over 60. We're hearing the number will be over 60. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
That's
anything really from Dak.
Because normally what do you hear with Brandon Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk wants Amon-Ra St.
Brown money. Yeah.
But they don't say the 49ers are going to they're not saying he's going to get it. That's what I'm saying is the way it's phrased. The way it is phrased is he is going to get over 60 and CeeDee Lamb is going to get over 30.
Yeah. The one that's shocking to me is the Dak one that they keep saying up with north of 60. And that's the case. I'm with you. I think, what are we talking, 65? Are we talking about like 62, 65? So I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if Dak's asking for a higher number or if the Cowboys are only willing to settle at 60 million. And maybe that's a low ball number now. Who knows? And that Jordan Love contract is going to tell you a lot about how much leverage Dak has. Because if Jordan Love gets 55 million, Dak's getting 65 million, like or north of 60. Because how would you, as an agent, that would be to me, if you're Dak's agent or his people representing him, that comparison for what Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love making 55 million compared to Dak and what he's done and what he's accomplished. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of a no-brainer that you're going to have to give him at least 60, if not more than that. Because the Cowboys don't have any other options at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really, I don't get why it's not done if those are the numbers.
I think guaranteed money could be it. Upfront cash could be it. Dak could be at this point saying, nah, man, he could be pushing, I want mostly a fully guaranteed deal. I mean, that's where you should be if you are a quarterback these days. You should be trying to get a fully guaranteed deal. You should be. The fact that Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed deal, just got to give David Mulligetta a lot of credit in the midst of allegations and civil lawsuits about sexual misconduct and not even knowing if he was going to be suspended for how long. We had no idea at the time. Still got that man a fully guaranteed deal. The NFL Players Association has failed the players, at least the quarterbacks. There should be more quarterbacks getting. Kirk Cousins got one at 1.2. He's got a savvy agent, as we know. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's like, listen, man, I need this thing to be fully guaranteed.
Man.
Or something close to it. Because the NFL's got to get there at one point. Some quarterbacks got to push it. Some QB has got to push it and say, I need a fully guaranteed deal. Because they've ignored they ignored the Deshaun Watson deal. It didn't even happen. The NFL acted like it didn't even happen. And they just picked up right where they left off with the next quarterback signed. I do wonder if he said, not, and maybe it's not fully guaranteed. Maybe he's saying, man, I need 90% of this thing guaranteed. All of it. I want most of it in cash up front. Big signing bonus. And front load my damn deal. And this is the thing. This is why that could be something that is difficult for the Cowboys because they don't like spending cash. They do not. I've given you guys the numbers, right? I've given you guys over. If you go look at over the last 3 years, the Cowboys ranked 30th in cash spending. And cash is king in the NFL. We talk about this all the time. That's your signing bonus. The only thing that matters is really that guaranteed money in your contracts. And a lot of that is done with straight cash. Your signing bonus, front load the deal, and it also gives you a discount really on the salary cap hit that you're going to take from that player. Makes it a more cost-effective salary cap move for you. But over the last decade, basically. So they ranked 30th in cash spending over the last 3 years. They ranked 25th in cash spending from 2013 to 2016. 32nd in cash spending from 2016 to 2019. So they basically over the last decade, they've ranked 25th, 30th, and 32nd in cash spending. They don't like spending cash. And if you're going to make a contract fully guaranteed, you're going to have to spend some cash on it. You got to spend some liquid cash. Cowboys don't like spending that.
It just I don't know. And I mean, I think it is just that they just misread the market again and thought that things might work out and somebody was going to sign a deal that was going to help them out. And I like that's the only logical explanation for why you would wait this long and then bow down to the demands.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to bow down to the demands, get it done.
Get it done.
But if you're not, then don't. Then go ahead and make a move. Put them on the trade market. Get rid of them. You can rebuild in 2 years if you trade both these guys.
Yeah.
You can basically reset this roster in 2 years if you draft well, because you draft well normally. And you trade off CD Lamb and Dak, and you say both of them are gone. We're going to be clear of dead cap in 2 seasons. We'll have tons of cap room. We'll have a bunch of draft picks, and we're going to be a little bit down. We'll keep Micah and Trayvon. We'll trade Deron Bland as well because he's got a favorable contract still, so we can trade him off and probably get a first or a second for him. And we'll just not be great for a season or two, and then we'll be right back in the hunt. But now we'll be going if you don't want to meet the demands.
You'd probably have to hire a new head coach too. You're a lame duck.
Yeah, but that's fine. None of that's but that's the thing is I just if you're not going to do it, then that's the other way to go. I don't know if there's a middle ground in this, and it feels like they want a middle ground, and there isn't one.
No,
the middle ground is you screw yourself into a 5-year rebuild because you got no value and you let 2 guys walk in free agency. And you still won 12 games this year because you still have a good team. And you maybe win a playoff game, and then you don't re-sign your guys because they want to go get value, and someone else will give them that money.
Yeah. No, nobody understands what the Cowboys are doing. It's probably one of the more mysterious off seasons we've seen for any team because we don't understand what they're doing. Nobody really does. And why are these extensions taking this long? If it seems to me pretty obvious where the negotiating starting point should be for them. But different discussion altogether. But I just want to let you know that Dax right now is trending toward him making more than $60 million. And we'll see what the CD Lamb deal is. But maybe CD's asking for Justin Jefferson money. At this point, I don't know how the Cowboys are not going to give it to him. And if they don't give it to him, then he's going to request a trade. And when the receiver requests a trade, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, but he doesn't even have to request a trade because he could say,
trade him or pay him.
He could say, I'm just going to sit. Me and Dak are going to play out the rest of this year. We're going to dominate, and then we'll go get our money in free agency. We get to pick where we go.
Yeah, but ultimately, I know
most people want the guarantee.
Yeah, he wants the deal. Like he wants a new deal. Like he wants a new deal. That's why the guy's like, I'll request a trade. You're right. They could just say, I'm going to play out my last year. That doesn't happen often because guys they want the deal.
No, I agree, but I think there's also you could say I'm not in a bad place. I'm fine with. I know what I can do. We're gonna dominate. And
it is, but it's always a risk of injury because
I agree. No, I know.
That's why guys, you take the bag. You take the bag. Somebody wants to pay you the bag. You take the bag, and then you deal with the consequences later. Because man, if you go out there and you have a ACL injury or anything, and it takes you out for that, half of that season or something, and your value drops precipitously. You forgot to cash in that lottery ticket and you lost it. Take the bag. But you're right, though. He could decide, you know what, I'm betting on myself again. But you already earned that money. Go get the money you earned. Cowboys just don't want to pay it to you. Somebody will. Somebody will pay you. Ask Dak. That's why Dak may decide to do that because Dak's a little bit more protected. And Dak's in a position of such scarcity and rarity that, hell, ask Kirk Cousins. Old, coming off an injury, still got paid.
An Achilles
That's
injury.
Quarterback. Exactly.
Not a
that's
small
how much
injury.
No. For an old guy, that's how much quarterback matters, right? Look how old Michael Penix is at Bo Nix. They don't care. Like, you can play quarterback. Even if you're old, we'll invest in you. We don't care. Wide receiver, a little bit different. You can fall off there. Ask Cooper Kupp. You can fall off pretty quickly. It don't take long for people to go, he used to be good, but he's not that good.
He's no Puka.
Exactly. It don't take long. Cash that lottery ticket. Get it. So I think you can bet on yourself, but Dak's more likely to do that. But then the Cowboys are stupid if they let him do that. You trade him. If he's gonna play out the last year in this deal, you just trade him and you get your first round or a first and a mid-round pick for him. But I just cannot. I can't imagine the Cowboys are going to go to that extreme.
I don't think they are. I think they're going to sign the contracts. It's like I still believe they're going to sign these guys, and I believe they're going to pay him what they want, and they're going to give Dak another no trade clause and a no franchise tag clause, and I think they're going to give him everything he wants, and I think they're going to see if CeeDee Lamb close to Justin Jefferson money, if not Justin Jefferson money, and if you are going to do that, I don't like it. It's hard for me to believe that those guys are also asking for everything. And they go, we want all these things. And they go, okay. And they go, also more. It feels like at a certain point they go, no, we got what we wanted. This is what we wanted. Let's go make the deal and it will be done. It's crazy to go. And maybe they are. Maybe their agents are just sitting there and go, let's bleed this old man dry. Like, we don't care. The Cowboys, they're using you as the face of the Cowboys. You need to go out there and get your money. And
I think the Cowboys would publicly, they would use the media to have basically to create a negative narrative if that was the case. If they were asking for ridiculous money, like money that was resetting the market at an unprecedented rate. Yeah. I think you would see the Cowboys strategy because they're really good at working the media to throw that player under the bus and basically put it out there that he's asking for this ridiculous asinine amount of money. I think they would do that. That's why I don't necessarily think they're asking for.
I agree
way above market.
I agree 100%, which is why none of this makes sense because there isn't an attack from the other side.
No.
There isn't a side that these guys are really bad. We even see CD's holding out. And we haven't heard, the Cowboys come out and say that he's not. We haven't even seen that part yet. And maybe this is all because of that lawsuit that Jerry Jones was in, and he was dealing with other things, and they kind of wanted to keep up and not let people see what was behind the curtain and whatever that was. And so they just waited on it. And now that that's cleared and that got settled the other day, that maybe now that's where everything will happen. And they were trying to pretend that nothing was happening. I don't know. I'm just trying to find any reason that it doesn't make sense. It's all it is. I don't like the things that don't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
You're talking about the Cowboys. All right, I want to get to this Cowboys survey here since we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And also Mike McCarthy, he was asked about his lame duck status with the Dallas Cowboys being on his last year on his contract. And he said, quote, "This is a challenge He said this goes both ways. He said you pour energy into yourself and bet on yourself, the odds tilt in your favor. When asked about him, obviously playing out the last year on his deal as a lame duck coach, there's a lot of talk, and we actually talked about this yesterday and buzz behind the scenes. If the Cowboys do anything drastic this year and they don't meet expectations, still been hearing that Bill Belichick and the Cowboys make a lot of sense. I keep hearing it over and over again. I don't know if Bill Belichick would ever coach for Jerry Jones, though. But I know people like this theory about Bill Belichick to the Cowboys if they move on from Mike McCarthy. This is the thing I worry about with this particular conspiracy theory. And I'm saying it's not crazy, by the way. It's not crazy. I don't trust Bill Belichick picking an offensive coordinator. I don't think anybody should trust that. That was the biggest drop-off in losing Tom Brady, guys, was that it showed us that Bill Belichick really had no idea how to coach or construct an offense.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Tom Brady's,
right? So Belichick is a defensive mind, brilliant, one of the greatest of all time. I would be reluctant to bring him on as a head coach unless he had a clear, concise plan about who's going to be his OC. And maybe he has that, but I would want somebody young and innovative too. I would want Bill bringing in one of his old lackeys from back in the day. Like, no, I want somebody young and innovative, not necessarily from the Bill Belichick tree. So if he is going to be the guy, you can't spend all this money on Dak. I don't know if Dak's the executive Tom Brady was. Tom Brady was, he'll bring the offense with him. He did in Tampa Bay. He brought the whole damn offense with him. This is my offense. It comes with me. I am no longer a game manager. I am a game executive. The offense comes. When you buy me, the offense comes with me. They thought that was Russell Wilson, I think, too. I think that's what they thought Russell Wilson was that kind of guy. Not every quarterback is that guy where he comes with his own offense. Aaron Rodgers reportedly is that kind of guy. Like, the offense comes with him. Like, it's my offense. I teach it. You know what I mean? I remember when Tony Romo was with the Cowboys and one of the receivers who came over to the Cowboys, he said he had never been in a room where the quarterback did the install of the offense. Like, the quarterback was the one that taught everybody the offense. And that's what Tony Romo was doing. Because I think at that time it had become Romo's offense. And so that's interesting when an offense becomes the quarterback's offense because he's been in it for so long. And I don't, maybe that's Dak's offense. Maybe Dak is getting to the point where he's that executive. I don't know that yet. And I have not necessarily heard that. Him and Mike McCarthy work really well in that offense. If Dak's got his own offense, then you're fine bringing in somebody else. But if not, be careful with Bill Belichick will replace him and they'll win a lot of games. Not necessarily. No, because the offense is the key.
The offense is the key. And then it's that there's two realms of thought of Bill Belichick with Micah Parsons, whereas personality-wise, it is so far from the culture that he built in Boston, so far from it, that doesn't seem like he would let a lot of that stuff fly. However, Bill Belichick also, when he was with the Giants, coached LT. That's true. If you think of Micah Parsons used in that kind of concept of, I'm going to make Micah Parsons the next LT, that's the thought that you go, okay, maybe he can find a way to make him this super dominant pass rusher that uses explosive. You know what I mean? Where there's two parts of it where I know that the New England Bill Belichick, I don't think could handle Micah Parsons, or he doesn't want to deal with Micah Parsons. I think he would get him off the team.
Yeah, he was the head coach.
Yeah, head coach Bill Belichick would get him off the team. Coordinator Belichick made LT great.
Agreed. Different Belichicks. Belichicks, though. And you're right, though. Like I said, defensively, I have no doubt he would be great with the Cowboys defensively. But you got to worry about the offense with Belichick, man. Yeah. That's why it fell off a cliff without Brady there. He lost his offensive counterpart. Okay. We'll hit this on the other side, the Cowboys survey. We'll jump into that when Raj ran the day because the Athletic, John Machota, he did a survey of Cowboys fans about the upcoming season. There's only a couple of questions I really want to get to. One was, if only one of these three could still be on the Cowboys 3 years from now, who would you want it to be? The choices were Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, or Dak Prescott. And another question I want to get to, who is the most overrated Cowboy on this Cowboys team? The choices are Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Trevon Diggs, and Deron Bland. So think about that and think about how you would answer those questions. And I bet most of y'all know how Cowboys fans would answer both of those questions. We'll discuss that on the other side when we come back. Also, we got to get to this Deshaun Foster sound, the new head coach at UCLA and his Big Ten media availability. It is, oh man, it is the best, worst media availability I think any coach has had at a preseason media days in quite a long time. And we'll talk about why it is the best and the worst simultaneously. We'll do that, and we'll also get into that Cowboy survey right here when we come back on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Low and Rod Rivers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city, even with the traffic, and that's one of the reasons people keep moving here, and that doesn't help the traffic. But that's why the city continues to grow and thrive and be one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And one of the reasons that it continues to grow and thrive is our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that we love in this city and we hold dear were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482, and right now is the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas, offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's Rap today. A couple of topics that I want to bring up here. First, this survey about the Dallas Cowboys. So over 1,000 Cowboys fans responded to the survey. I'm not sure if they were all fans, but I'm sure most of them were fans. John Machota did this in The Athletic. And it was 12 questions total, but I just wanted to get to the response of 2 of the questions and the survey results for 2 of the questions on the survey. And the first one, and it's like I said, these are actually not that surprising when you start really thinking about them. So the first question is, if only one of these 3 could still be on the Cowboys 3 years from now, who would you want it to be? The choices were CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott. Who do you think got the most votes and the least votes?
Patrick? Micah got the most, Dak got the least.
It's easy, was it?
It's pretty easy.
Ding, 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 ding,
hey,
ding, ding.
By the way, I see the text line. I see.
Yeah. Is the text line also reflecting those results?
Some people not thrilled that he's going to make some money.
Yeah. So yes, only 13% of the people surveyed said Dak Prescott would be the one they would want on the team 3 years later if you could only pick one of the 3. Micah won, and then CD got 34% of the vote. Micah got 52% of the vote. Man, the Cowboys fans and the way they feel about Dak. So also, here's the next question. All right.
I will be fair. Dak is the oldest. Now, he's not that old. He's 30. For a quarterback, that's not old at all.
I was like, for a quarterback, that's not that old.
But he is the oldest of, if you were to say in 3 years, those other guys will be like 26, 27.
You know it ain't got nothing to do with his age, Patrick.
know.
You know it, though. You just try to play devil's advocate.
Was it hard for me to answer the question?
No, it wasn't. You see it's top of mind for you. Here's the next question. All right. Who is the Cowboys' most overrated player? Choices being Trevon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott, Deron Bland, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. Who do you think it is, Patrick?
I think it's Dak.
Oh, you would be ding, ding, ding. You'd be
I
correct.
think it's Dak. I don't.
Yes.
Now let me say, I don't think that's correct, but I will say I think the answer to the question is Dak.
Yeah, he's got almost 100 more votes than the second place player here. Michael Parsons actually got 152 votes. I think he's overrated, probably because of what both of them is because of what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%.
Micah disappears in the playoffs too. He's now on the verge of gaining a little bit of a reputation too, because in his last couple of playoff appearances, you don't see Micah.
No,
Micah don't make no plays in the playoffs. No, like none. Like he's arguably the most impactful defensive player in the league and disappears in the playoff. Nah, something's going on there. So that's just because it game planning against really good teams. You want to know why? Because he's an average run defender. And in the playoffs, they run the ball. So he's got to be a better run defender. If he wants to be an elite defender overall, can't just be an elite pass rusher, because the NFL, if you're an elite pass rusher, average run defender, they'll just make you defend and run all the time. Period.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers. So that's Micah's deal.
I mean, that's a big one for Micah before you pay him this. What does he do with Mike Zimmer? So you're like, all right, second defensive coordinator, and this dude still pretty much refuses to guard the run. Then we just understand what we have as a player, and they're still going to make him the highest pay. That's especially if they pay Dak, they pay CD, then you're paying Micah.
Oh, you're going to pay Micah, yeah. That's already – if Micah was up, Micah would get paid already. If Micah was already up, if they could pay him, they would have paid him.
He's very much a Jerry Jones guy.
Yes, no doubt. He calls him like something like JJ or something. You ever heard him like talk about Jerry? He doesn't call him Jerry. He actually has like a nickname for Jerry, and I forget what it is. It's, they're close. I'll just say they're close. But yeah, Dak Prescott. So the Cowboys think he's the most overrated player, and he would, out of the big 3, 3 years from now, they could choose any of them. Dak would get the least amount of votes.
Who is the least overrated player?
Deron Bland. When they said who was the Cowboys' most overrated player, he got the least amount of votes. Deron Bland. It was Dak Prescott, then Micah, then Zeke. Good Lord, Zeke shouldn't even be on this list. It shouldn't even.
It's is he overrated? He's
not really rated anymore. Nobody knows overrated. Ball.
Yeah, he shouldn't be on a roster.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, exactly. He should be overrated or underrated. Like, no. Nobody's talking about Zeke anymore. Why is he even on the list with a guy who finished second team All-Pro? Micah Parsons might be Defensive Player of the Year next year. Trevon Diggs was an All-Pro 2 years ago, and Deron Bland was an All-Pro and a Defensive Player of the Year vote this year. Zeke, one of these things is not like the other, and it's Zeke. Get him out of there. What are you doing? God, they just like his name. Again, they asked who's the most underrated player, and Jake Ferguson got that vote. He's the most underrated player. So there you go. Okay, so this is my thing about Dak, and I've always said this to be true about Dak. Cowboys fans, there's a great comedic bit by Chris Rock, and he talks about marriage and everything. He talks about why some women are miserable in their marriages, and they make the life of the husband miserable as well. If you want to know why your wife is so unhappy and you've been doing everything in your power to make her happy, you're like, I can't figure it out. Why does this woman hate me? It's like, because she's not your first. Because you're not her first choice, basically. Like she had in her mind, she wanted another man, and she ended up with you, and she's taking that out on you every day. Man, I just wish that's why everything about you is wrong. That's his take, not mine. I feel like that's Cowboys fans about Dak. I feel like that, and honestly, they would like that about Romo too. Because and I think it's more of the circumstance of them looking at all these other quarterbacks around the league who were drafted in the first round, the prince that was promised, extremely high ceiling quarterbacks, and then they look at Dak, and not that they don't appreciate Dak, but Dak's a 4th round pick, right? Tony Romo was an undrafted free agent. They always that stigma, I think, stays with those quarterbacks, and Cowboys fans, they always want the prince that was promised. They always look at Dak and like Tony Romo as they settled for that quarterback. Cowboys have to settle for that quarterback instead of going to get a elite big time quarterback. And they've never really been that organization. The last time they had that was Troy Aikman, the prince that was promised. They don't operate that way. They've been the luckiest organization in the NFL when it comes to quarterback. And I think for Cowboys fans at times, they are, I think for them, it's, and I think they appreciate Dak and what he's done, but for them, they believe they settled for a quarterback. And they're always looking at everybody else around the league. And those quarterbacks, there's really high ceilings and elite quarterbacks. And Dak's in that conversation now, but yet Cowboys fans don't want to recognize it because they feel like, they settled. They still feel like they can do better than Dak and do better than Romo. And maybe they're right, but they still your franchise quarterbacks now. And right now, you have no other option. That's my take on why they Cowboys fans. I've watched it now with 2 quarterbacks, and I think it's because they've been similarly, in terms of their track, they were underrated, kind of not cast off quarterbacks. Tony Romo kind of was; he was undrafted free agent, but quarterbacks who were not highly drafted QBs.
Yeah,
therefore expectations were not high for them.
There's a simple concept of what potential is, where like Trevor Lawrence has been like, but people will still look at Trevor Lawrence and go, his potential though. Like this guy's potential is still to be the best quarterback, an MVP and best quarterback in the league, even though nothing has shown you that he's going to be that guy in the NFL.
Sam Darnold, people keep giving him chances.
No, but if you look at Dak Prescott, they go, well, he's everything he achieves. Every time he achieves something, that's clearly hit the top of his game. There's never any extra room to grow into anything he does. He's always that's the best he'll ever be. So every season he gets better, and then every season, well, that's the best.
That's his ceiling.
That's his ceiling. We just hit it last season. That's his ceiling. Yep. Where Trevor Lawrence, you hit it and he has his best season. They go, but there's still room.
Yeah,
there's still room. And
that's
it's just that thought of 1st round picks, especially number 1 overall picks and guys like that. Well, but if we just figure it out, then everything will be right there. And with that, there's no, we've already hit the ceiling, man.
Hit the ceiling.
Anything else is nice, but we've already hit it.
Yep. You're right. And he'll just, because even this last year, I think a lot of people were surprised, but they in the playoffs, it almost reaffirmed what the Dak haters are thinking. Like, see, told you, this is the best he can do. Yeah, hope y'all like this. Is the best that Dak can do. And you know what? It's hard to deny that in the playoffs. No. Dak has not had that kind of success. He's gotten better in the regular season, but not in the playoffs. So that's kind of my take on Cowboys fans. Yeah, that's the good stuff, though. You're right about that. They always, like Jared Goff's like that. It's like, no, there's always room to grow with those guys. And it's like, what about Dak? It's like, Dak's his
sky's the limit. What's that, Chris Rock? Sky's the limit. The limit's the sky.
The limit's the sky. For Dak, the limit's the sky. Yeah, you're right. That going back full circle to a Chris Rock bit. I totally agree with you there. All right. We'll get to the Deshaun Foster sound. We'll get to that coming up next hour because it's hilarious. And I think horrifically iconic now for him and for UCLA football fans. So we'll get to that coming up. But first, on the other side, we'll get to what the facts, what the stats right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to what the facts, what the stats. Got a few of these. How about some we give you these facts about the gold medal, actually medal payouts by country. Here's the gold medal payout by country. Texas, USA. You get a $37,000 prize for winning a gold medal. It's pretty damn good. It's not bad. In Singapore, 737,000 of whatever their currency is. Hong Kong, 642,500. This is from Spot Track. Thailand is 365,000. Indonesia, 346,000. Kazakhstan, 250,000. The U.S. is only paying 37,000. That's because a lot more medals. The U.S. would have to give up a lot more money because you go look at gold medals all time. Singapore's got 1. Hong Kong's got 2. Thailand's got 10. Indonesia's got 8. Kazakhstan's got 15. U.S. 1,179.
They got a few. They've got a few.
Yeah, so that's why the payouts different. If you win a silver medal in the Paris Olympics, you'll get 22,500 American. If you an American, you win silver. If you're an American, you win bronze, you'll get 15,000. Gold medal winners in track and field will earn an additional 50,000 from World Athletics. Oh, that's pretty nice. How they get that little bonus? Extra 50 G's for a gold medal in track and field.
I mean,
speaking of track and field,
considering you're training for 4 years to get this, true. I think maybe make it worth your while that these are, if you win gold and it's like, what would you say, 37,000?
It's 37,000. Yeah,
$37,000 over 4 years is less than 10 grand a year.
Got to pay taxes on that, man. Uncle Sam coming for a piece of it. It was like, I'll take some of that. No, you're right. It's because you can't have most of them don't have jobs. Like they don't have a side gig. You have to train literally around the clock for 4 straight years to get your body in the best possible shape. You're one of the best athletes in the world. You're right. I think they just that's why they have the sponsorships, because you basically are sponsored. They're sponsoring you as an athlete and you're training too. And then you're supposed to pay off when you get to the Olympics and hopefully you can win gold. Man, I can't imagine just the pressure for, Olympic athletes, like every 4 years, this is it. And you have to perform, and say you had a bad day. You can't afford to have a bad day or a bad race. You literally have to be performing at your peak at the perfect time, to time it out right, where you peak at the right time. It really is. I got a lot of stress. Usain Bolt, how about this? Usain Bolt's one of the greatest Olympic athletes of all time. I read this story about him because all these cool stories are coming out about the Olympics. So he won gold in the 100 meters in 2008. 200 in 2008 too. He ran a 9.69 and 19.3 in the 200 meters, just ridiculously fast. But he did it all while eating McDonald's, he claims. He said he didn't want to take risks on food, so he said he had 100 chicken McNuggets a day during his 10-day stay in the country. He said, I should have gotten a gold medal for all that chowing down, he wrote in his biography. He said, almost as impressive as the Nuggets thing, Nuggets only diet, 40 for breakfast, 20 for lunch, 40 for dinner. This is what he claims. I'm not making it up. Did he do a McDonald's endorsement? I hope so. Bolt would wake up from a nap less than an hour before his gold medal races. He also put that in his book. Like, he would sleep until an hour before. Most people are warming up, like a couple hours stretching before getting a rub.
Yeah.
No, this dude would sleep until like an hour before wake up. And that's how he dealt with the stress, I think. It's a very stressful thing to sit around and think about something all that time.
That's true, yeah.
How it could go wrong. And no, I was like, no, instead of thinking about it, nope, I just sleep and I get up, go through my routine. By the time I'm done with my routine and warming up, it's time to go.
He's on island time.
Dude, I don't even know how you can sleep. I couldn't sleep. I know way I could sleep before. I slept before games, but man, we're basically on the bus 4 hours before a game.
The heart rate I would have in that wake up.
Oh man.
Can you imagine the wake up, look at the clock and be like, oh God, Oh God, we gotta go.
Yeah. What's the Seinfeld episode where the
That
dude
marathon
overslept for the
Yeah.
marathon, right? The Olympics. That's kind of what I'd be paranoid about. Like, dude, I can't oversleep for the Olympics, man.
No, I mean, you're
Right.
like, what if there's traffic?
Was anything like anything? What if I need to go to the bathroom? Like, what if I, lots of stuff I need to. I would be stressed out about. But I think that's why you want to nap because, like I said, that's a lot of stress. And if you think too much, most is just basic human nature. You start gearing toward the negative. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
What I didn't do? What did I miss? Oh, should I have done that? Should I have done that? And that's why they always tell you, like, you want to do less, like, obsessing about the actual event and focus on the process, and less about the result. Because if you focus on the result, you natural human nature, you start going toward negative thoughts. You just think about all the things that could go wrong and you don't want to go there because that will affect your performance in a negative way. So I bet that's what it was about. It's just about him just staying focused and being a process-oriented athlete. And then the result will take care of itself if you refine and perfect the process. But that's amazing. It got McDonald's chicken nuggets, the whole damn Olympics. That's crazy. And still was able to.
Did he say what sauce he went with?
Oh, he did not. That's important.
That's important. What sauce he going with? Are you changing up the sauces?
You eat that meat? You got to
change up the sauces, right?
Yeah, he definitely was a multi-sauce guy.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm barbecue all the time, but he had to jump into the sweet and sour and the barbecue. Probably every now and then,
honey mustard,
some ranch or some honey mustard. There you go. See, my man, you know your sauces. You know your sauces. There's a new is it Wendy's coming out with the saucy nuggets? Is their thing now?
I think everyone's trying to do that. I think everyone kind of has
what's the saucy nuggets now?
Yeah, the thing where they're like pre-sauced.
Yes,
it's the same
pre-sauced
concept,
nuggets.
But they're like, you guys, you're not saucing correctly, so we'll pre-sauce for you.
That's too much sauce. I prefer to dip. I'm a dipper.
Because you're clean. It's much dirtier if they're pre-sauced. It's dirty. Your hands are dirty again.
So you can't eat it in the car then.
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
You should not be eating in your car anyway. Distracted driving. It's dangerous. But when you do eat in your car, you don't want nuggets that are pre-sauced. It's a disaster waiting to happen, right? You're gonna be able to dip as you go.
Yeah,
do you still dip in the car when you eat your nuggets? That's dangerous. Maybe they are for people who are driving while they're eating, so they're pre-sauced, so you ain't got to worry about dipping because that's dangerous. They take you out off the road. You know what I mean? Trying to dip. Nuggets.
It feels like one of those things where they're like, people are complaining about dipping. They're like, seriously? Just pre-dip it for them. I don't care.
We're that lazy. We don't want to dip. We don't want to dip anymore. It's like, no, let's dip it. All right, there you go. All right, we come back. We'll get into, I promise you, we'll get into that Deshaun Foster story and hear the audio from Deshaun Foster. I'm going to take up for him, actually. I'm going to take up for Deshaun Foster, even though everybody's roasting him right now. I will take the devil's advocate approach here, and I will support him. Now, I'll tell you why. It's not such a bad thing that he went viral for all the wrong reasons. We'll do that when we come back. Also, dive into the new framework of college sports. They're getting rid of scholarship restrictions, and now they have roster limits. We'll talk about that and explain on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday, as introduced by my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, coming up with all the musically themed days of the week, and a new theme Thursday when he comes up with a new creative theme for every Thursday show. And because we are now officially in Olympic season, if you will, the Olympics have started. It is an homage, if you will, to the Olympics. So every song, every title in these songs will reference a sport being competed in the Olympic Games, correct?
Yes, sir. This is jump.
Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. Long jump,
Long jump, triple jump, high jump.
High jump. Yeah, there you go. Pretty simple. I like it. So all of these songs reference an Olympic sport. So appreciate Patrick on a new theme Thursday hooking us up. Also, he hooks us up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day. You can go check that out. That's now posted at the Horns X account at the Horn ATX. Patrick, give folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll today. Which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? I've given you the top 4 that are that I've seen on everything. If you've got another one, feel free to throw it up there on X or on the text line 512-447-3776. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are your top 4 that you're seeing pretty much everywhere. That's your top 4 wide receivers in the league normally thought of at this point. So who would you take? And right now, pretty split there on the poll online.
That's how I know you did a good job with the poll when you get these kind of results.
We get it split up there. I'm surprised at how many Justin Jeffersons there are. I get that he's the guy, and he's the guy, and he's the guy, but I don't. There's just not a quarterback there. Like the other guys, at least I got maybe don't like Tua, but I think he's better than
whatever they have there.
Whatever they have, unless J.J. McCarthy turns out to be next level.
He might be the real deal. I mean, he might be really good. I know they were, people were high on him before the draft, but I do wonder if he needs a season or two on the bench or some time on the bench to really, acclimate and adapt to the game a little bit. But Justin Jefferson's just that good, man. But CeeDee Lamb's winning right now. This poll right now, he's got 32% of the votes, and I would pick CeeDee too. Led the NFL in targets and receptions and yards last year, finished second in receiving touchdowns. And I think this year he could pick up right where he left off when he signs his extension with the Cowboys, because the running game is going to be lackluster, to say the least. Brandon Cooks, I'm not sure, is a true number 2. I think Jake Ferguson probably is ready to ascend into being Dak's second favorite receiver, even though Brandon Cooks is the number 2 receiver. I'll take CeeDee, man. I'll take CeeDee. I think he is ready. If you're a fantasy guy, I think he's ready to repeat some of the same stats he had from last season. And the rest of these guys, Justin Jefferson doesn't have the quarterback. Jamar Chase got a share. He's got a really good number 2. Tyreek Hill's got a really good number 2. They just paid in Jalen Waddle. You're right. Justin Jefferson actually has one too. They just drafted in Jordan Addison. I don't know if the Cowboys have the supporting cast offensively that some of these other teams do. And I like Dak. If Dak picks up where he left off last season, big Dak energy, he and CeeDee, they're going to be prolific together. So it's a good question, though. Topic for the Big Fat Poll. You go check it out, the Horn ATX. All right. We will get into the latest reports about the new financial framework of college sports, major college sports. They have now worked out, or at least reportedly worked out, some of the roster limits. They are getting rid of scholarship restrictions, and now they're going to base everything on roster limits. And they have increased the scholarship numbers for a lot of the major sports, and we'll dive into that. And also, we'll hear from Deshaun Foster. He had an horribly iconic media availability at Big Ten Media Days, and it might have been the best, worst press conference that we've ever seen at a media days. And we'll play the audio for you. And I'll take up for Deshaun Foster. A lot of people are roasting him right now. I'll take up for him. I think he actually may have unintentionally did himself a favor. And we'll dive into that too and talk some college football. But before we do, let's get updated. Let's get educated and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game against the A's 8-1 in their final trip to the Oakland Coliseum. Hunter Brown picked up another quality start in his 9th win of the season, pitching 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and only allowing 1 run. Alex Bregman reached base 3 times with 2 RBIs as part of the Astros' 4-run 7th. Houston now takes a day off before an interleague series with the Dodgers at Minute Maid Park starting Friday. And the Rangers got their third straight win over the White Sox 10-2. Nathan Eovaldi, whose name has started to be included in trade rumors over the last few days, had a solid outing, pitching 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits with 10 strikeouts, earning his 7th win of the season. Corey Seager hit a home run in the first, and then the Rangers started to open up a lead with 2 runs in the 5th, another run in the 6th, before blowing the game wide open with a 6-run 8th inning. Max Scherzer will get the start for the Rangers today after leaving his last start early due to arm fatigue, only throwing 53 pitches. The Rangers can sweep the White Sox. They would be within a game of 500 for the first time since June 2nd. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Okay, let's first hit this Deshaun Foster audio because it's wild. So he was being introduced at Big Ten Media Days, and as you guys know, first the coach comes out there, makes an opening statement. It can be 2 minutes. Hell, Sark's was 13 minutes. And then you say, any questions? And you just take questions. That's usually the way it works out for everybody. So this is when he's being introduced, and I guess he didn't have an opening statement ready to go. Probably should just came out and said, hey guys, great to be here. I'll just take questions. Let's go. Boom. He didn't do that. He took the podium, and I'll just say looked and seemed ill-prepared. Here's Deshaun Foster.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting 2 great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
Wow.
Okay. Number one, not prepared.
No.
And if your head coach isn't prepared for any situation, that is like their number one job as the head coach of the team, to have the team prepared to play. And for him not to be prepared for that moment, it's not a good sign. Right. No. And I'm a preparation guy. You guys know.
Yes.
And the reason I'm a preparation guy, because I feel like I've had a show like that before, like a 4-hour show, kind of like that before in my life. And then all it takes is one show where you run out of topics or don't have enough prep, and you'll never let it happen to you again. Yep. And I think it happened to me once early on in my career. Like maybe I've been doing this now going on 15 years. It may have happened. I'm talking about like the second year or something that I was doing this, and I thought to myself, never again.
Yeah.
I will always have way too many topics to discuss, and I will always have the problem of I couldn't get to everything.
Yeah.
Rather than I don't have enough stuff to talk about. And I always have that problem now. Our biggest problem is here, me and Pat is like, we got to get to that tomorrow. I forgot about that sound. I forgot about that audio.
That's how we operate. When I try and when I'm talking to people who are starting out and doing stuff, I'm like, how many topics do you think you need? Add 3 or 4 more.
Yep. And
be ready to talk about it. I'm just go. I'm like, trust me, because we've all had those moments of walking and go, I got 2 topics. These should last me an hour minimum. I'm only talking for 30 minutes. And then gonna last me an hour, and you are 8 minutes in, and you are dead in the water.
And it's horrifying. And it's oh no!
When you look at the clock,
horrifying.
When you look at the clock, especially if you're by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a producer walk out of the room because I kept looking at him, being like, "You gonna chime in?" And he just walked out of the room, and I'm like,
"He's like,
come on, man!" It's like you're drowning, and the guy just turns around,
just walks away.
Come on, man. Away.
So no, and it takes one time. Yep.
No, and it's like I've spoken on stage plenty of times and done that, and it's you learn the lesson of we put together notes and you think you'll be able to put the words together off of I just write some bullet points. So I'm going to write that, here's the number of conferences, championships we've won, excited to be in the Big Ten, that we're from LA. So it's nice that us in USC, and in his head, he's kind of going through, but then he went out there. He had not run through it at all.
He did not run through
he
it
had
at all.
Not.
Yep. So also, ill prepared, but also no practice.
No,
also shows
no
that he didn't
practice.
Even the little notes he wrote down.
No.
And I'll say this too. And even before I do a show, there are times, and it's crazy, I will kind of talk to myself and work through a take a little bit and be like, I know where I'm going with it. Yeah. I'm going to talk to myself. Okay. That's where I'm going with this. I'm going here.
Yeah.
You have to actually kind of speak it out loud. If you don't, having the first time you speak out loud about, obviously in whatever speech that you're preparing, to do that for the first time on the stage at the event, at the podium, that is also, that is nightmare fuel.
And sometimes you can pull it off. A lot of times you need some alcohol to pull it off because you need to get a little bit more confidence. It's really hard to do sober.
It's hard to do.
Every one of those breaks that was 10 seconds, 5 seconds, felt like a minute and a half to him.
Yeah. So, we already know the rule about dead air in radio, like no dead air, because every second of dead air feels like 5 to 10 seconds of dead air on the radio. And that's why it's tough, because like you said, you can come in there with 2 topics, but if you're talking constantly, hell man, 8 minutes goes by really fast.
No, I've seen people eat it doing stand-up where they come out and they're like, it's like 5 minutes. And 5 minutes seems like it's nothing. And they will hit 4 jokes in roughly 45 seconds.
Yep.
Like, they don't pace them out right. And they're
because you're nervous.
And you're nervous. And then you're like, well, when I tell this one, I will have to pause for the uproarious laughter and the round of applause, maybe get a standing O on that second joke. I don't know. And then you tell the joke and you go, like, I jump into the third. And so you do
I got to go to another joke. Then you rush to the next joke.
And
because of other
all
joke
he was missing in that was, what else? What else is happening in the news?
No, and I'll criticize him. Ill prepared and he did not practice. He'll learn from then on. Like, no, you don't take that stage without. And if you have to just have a speech up there ready to go, have the speech ready to go. But that's why you have a wife at home. Because, hey, wifey, I need you to be my audience. Here we go. Trust me, every comedian's got a woman or a group like, all right, here, I got to do stand up in front of y'all. Y'all ready for it? Here we go.
One of the weird moments of my life was we were doing a coach's show at Pluckers, and I was hosting a roast that night. I was a roast master at the show. And so I'm running through my jokes and I'm running through the roast. And as I'm doing, I'm pacing outside of Pluckers. And then Tom Herman comes out on a recruiting call, and me and Tom Herman are pacing back and forth, and I'm reading dirty jokes, and he's talking to some high school kid. I was like, this is weird right now. Seems like a weird
That
moment.
is strange. Talk about something you would never have described, that situation you would have been in. It's like, no, I'm outside of Pluckers with Tom Herman. I am reading the dirty jokes that I'm going to have to prepare
trying to go
for a
through
roast, and he's out there. I would like to know who he's recruiting. Now I want to know, like, did you find out?
I have no idea.
Okay, this is what I'll say about the show. First of all, yes, that was a disaster. All right?
By the way, I'll throw this in too. Go listen to that and then listen to Sark's. And Sark's is 15 minutes.
It's like 13. It was like 13-minute opening statement.
13-minute opening statement Sark made. That was 1 minute.
I get exactly. But you could tell Sark knew exactly.
Yes.
He knew exactly how he was going to transition from one subject to the other. You can tell. I bet L'Oreal knew the damn speech herself, because L'Oreal probably like, I've heard this damn thing like 10 times already. Because Sark looked like he was so confident in his delivery and his tone. That was not the first time he delivered that speech.
No,
that was not the first time. So I think Deshaun Foster's going to learn that. I will say, and can we play, because he had a breakout session where he tried to explain this and wanted to explain really kind of his personality and at disposition overall, talking about he's not a rah-rah guy. He was also missing enthusiasm and energy. When you do public speaking, and Patrick knows this too, you got to bring the energy. You are the energy.
Yes.
You cannot, false enthusiasm, it helps a lot. And it's crazy. And it comes off on air too. You got to have energy and you got to have enthusiasm. He didn't have any of that when he walked up to the podium. Even if he had bombed, but did it enthusiastically with energy, it'd have been better. He was like, man, he had a lot of energy up there. I gotta tell you, he's excited. He said he's excited, didn't sound excited. And then it didn't feel like he was excited. So I think that's also something he was missing. But here is Deshaun Foster in one of the breakout sessions explaining his disastrous media availability at Big Ten Media Days.
How do you look back on your first
run through as a head coach of Big Ten Media Days. It was cool. It wasn't. It was cool. You know, I'll probably get on Twitter and see some jokes later, but I haven't seen it.
That bother you at all?
No. It's me. I can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't do something that I'm not. So it's just tough for me to. I'm not a big talker, and then put me up there. I'd rather you guys ask me what you want to know.
So, plus, I mean, you've been criticized left and right your entire life being a player.
That's another thing I was trying to tell people. Like I played. You know, that's how I can have this personality. That's how I can have this demeanor. That's how I can be this type of person. Because I don't have to try to trick you with words. I don't have to try to grab you with some kind of. I played. If you want to go to the NFL, this is a place that you can do that.
All right, that's Deshaun Foster saying, hey, I don't have to, I'm not a rah-rah guy. You know, I don't have to woo you with words. I played the game. And I'll say this for him. First of all, a lot of people didn't even know Deshaun Foster was coaching UCLA. So even though it was a kind of disastrous performance, and he's a bit strange and peculiar, nothing wrong with that. At least people now know who he is and that he's coaching UCLA.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to remember,
before that nobody knew. And I can say if he had done a really good job up there, after he got done, nobody would have known who he was, and nobody would have been talking about UCLA. Mike Gundy said that he gets more people, even to this day, that know him and recognize him from the I'm a 40, I'm a man, I'm 40 rant than do from his football coaching exploits.
No, I mean, if you remember that UCLA job was not wanted by many people.
No.
I mean, Chip Kelly left to be an OC.
Yeah, coach leave for your coordinator. Yeah, you're right. Not a coveted
in the
job.
same conference now that you're in.
Yeah. Oh, it's ugly. Yeah. No, he's ugly. It ain't good. So, like I said, I'll give him credit for at least now. There are a lot of people like, oh, I didn't know he was coaching UCLA. Now you know.
Yes.
Now, at least now people are aware of UCLA and Deshaun Foster being there. But I'll say this, just because you have a disastrous media availability, your first, I would say, introduction to the media nationally is a disaster. Just because that's the case does not mean you're going to be a terrible coach. It means you're bad with the media. Remember Dan Campbell? Remember Dan Campbell's introductory press conference? Everybody thought it was a disaster. I will say one thing that Dan Campbell had that Deshaun Foster didn't. He has energy and enthusiasm. He may not necessarily have a way with words, and he's not that articulate, but enthusiasm and energy, he's got tons of it. That's why I remember saying I liked his press conference. I was like, that was awesome. Here is Dan Campbell, first time introduced to the media. Everybody thought it was a disaster. Now, one of the best coaches in the league. Here it is.
Built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth. All right. And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right. And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right. That's going to be the mentality.
So we didn't like it. They said, I was like, oh, it's not very polished. He wasn't polished.
No, Dan Campbell, the one when he was asked about the Penny Sewell, they ran that play for the lineman to get the pass on the outside and it worked. And they asked about it in the post game, and he was like, well, they called and then, they asked me for the approval, and he's kind of going through and saying all the things. And he goes, in reality, they were doing a wave in the crowd, and I saw it, and I got distracted. They said, are we good with that call? And I said, yes. And then when I saw him throwing it to the lineman, I was like, what are we doing? He just had to
He's honest.
Halfway through, he was like, I can't lie about this. I didn't know what we were calling.
You got to respect. He's honest. And also give Deshaun Foster credit for that. He was being honest.
He was honest.
Up there, like, this is me. I'm not trying to fake it up here. This is who I really am. And I remember Nick Sirianni's opening press conference, our introductory press conference. And I remember people saying that was a disaster. It might have been, but still ended up being a Super Bowl coach that went to a Super Bowl and still has the job, even though some people think he's on the hot seat right now. But here's Nick Sirianni in his opening press conference.
Next thing that's very important to me is that we build a smart football team, that we have a smart football team here. And I know we have the people in place to do that. the first part of that, the first part of being smart is knowing what to do. We're going to have systems in place that are easier to learn. All right, complicated to the defense or offense that they're going against, or the special teams group that they're going against, but easy for us to learn. Because when we can when we can learn our system and we can get good at our system, then our talent can take over. Less thinking equals talent take over, but we need to have systems in place, and we will have systems in place to do so.
People thought that was clunky, unpolished systems, smart systems, and smart systems.
Yes.
All right. And some people just not great with the media, not very polished. Doesn't mean you're not going to be a good coach.
No.
So UCLA fans, just because he's not polished and it was a bit of a disaster, it's okay. Doesn't mean he's not going to be a good coach.
Or you could end up being Jim Tomsula or Adam Gase or one of those guys. But
also you end up getting exactly what you got up there, an ill-prepared coach who doesn't practice and doesn't devote time to his craft. But like I said, it could go the opposite way too. But I think the lesson he learned was the same lesson I think a lot of people have learned at their jobs, their professions. Preparation, man. Preparation is key.
Yes. I mean, this segment is perfect place of how many clips Rod had pulled before this show.
Exactly.
To be like, hey, we're going to talk about this, so let me pull some other examples, and here's some other things. And that's
exactly. It's what I learned from that one experience I had where I ran out of topics, and I was like, "Oh, it'll never happen to me again." I'll always have tons of topics to talk about.
Brutal.
It's brutal. That's what happened to Deshaun Foster. It's okay, Deshaun Foster. It's okay, but be prepared, man, for that kind of moment. And by public speaking is still considered one of the top 3 biggest fears of almost every human being on the planet. Public speaking is still up there as one of the biggest fears that human beings have. Nobody likes to speak publicly. People hate it, actually. And so I think that's also a kind of a natural fear that humans have. Humans have kind of some natural built-in phobias, snakes and like spiders. There's some things that kind of just heights kind of naturally scare most humans. Public speaking is one of those things. Always has been. Yes. So I give people a little bit of I try to give them some grace when it comes to public speaking.
What's the Jerry Seinfeld joke on that one?
Oh, public speaking. Yeah, public speaking. He said the number 1 fear in America at the time was public speaking, and death was number 2.
Yes.
And he said death was number 2, which means for most people, they'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Yeah. Which there you go. That's how embarrassed some people are and ashamed of public speaking. All right, let's get to this change with roster limits really quickly. Then we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. So what's happening, folks? They are officially in the 25-26 academic year, they are eliminating scholarship restrictions. Based on this report from Yahoo Sports and Ross Dellinger, they're going to replace them with roster limits. And schools are permitted to offer scholarships to the entirety of their rosters. The new roster limits will take football from 85 scholarship restrictions, I guess the 85 scholarship restriction, to now 105 on their roster limit. Remember, you can offer max 105 players a scholarship. Also, in an important note, the 105 may not be a requirement until the start of the competitive season, giving coaches flexibility to go beyond that figure during preseason camp, for instance. Oh, interesting. Also, other sports, baseball, huge leap, almost triple the amount of scholarships available. They're going to go from 11.7 as a scholarship restriction to now 34 as a roster limit. Scholarship spots for softball and volleyball go from 12 and will increase. Go from 12 to 25 and 18. So 25 for softball, 18 for volleyball. And here is, I think, one of the biggest rule changes, or at least ones I think are going to be most impactful. All of the sports now, every sport is considered an equivalency sport, meaning partial scholarships can be distributed to players now in football, basketball, and other sports. They say football, basketball, and other sports are currently considered what they call head count sports. So full scholarship, boom, this guy, that guy, full, or young lady, they're on a full scholarship. Baseball, of course, we know they are an equivalency sport. You can offer partials, and I think there are other sports like rowing and stuff that do that as well. But now every sport can do partial scholarships. And I don't know how. I think it just gives you flexibility in building a roster. I don't know how much for a school like Texas if they're going to pursue that. But the question is, in terms of going back to college football, and this is going to have a huge effect on all those sports talked about: volleyball and softball, basketball, and of course we talked about baseball probably being the most probably most beneficial in terms of the rule changes, these roster limits, because they get almost triple the amount of scholarships. But the extra 20 scholarships in college football, what are you going to do with them is the question, right? Do you basically form a practice squad of sorts with those extra scholarships and say, hey, we're going to keep our 85 scholarships, but those extra 20 that we have, we're going to use those as a practice squad so that we can really get into the weeds in development? Or use them specifically for a certain position. Maybe you think, O-line and D-line, that's where you need your extra investment. Your Texas going to the SEC, and you want to start stockpiling O-linemen and D-linemen, D tackles specifically, because it takes a little bit longer to develop those guys, right? They got to get in the strength and conditioning room, strength and conditioning program. They got to, get with a dietitian, get with a nutritionist, trying to transform their bodies from these teenage boy bodies to their grown man bodies. So like other positions like quarterback and wide receiver and running back and cornerback that transition relatively quickly from the high school to the college level, it may take the linemen a while just because, they got to add more mass, they got to build more muscle. That's just more to the overall development, more to invest in their development to get them ready for the highest levels of college football. So maybe you want to focus on positions for those extra scholarships, like Sark does, right? He's been stockpiling O-linemen for a while. When he first got here, Texas didn't have enough scholarship O-linemen to even have a spring game. And now Sark talks about them having 3 different units worth of offensive linemen, maybe D tackle, because right now Texas is having a hard time developing D tackles. Their D tackle pipeline has been disrupted. That's why they went and got 3 via the transfer portal. So maybe you're deciding, hey, I'm going to invest in, I'm going to get these young guys from the high school level who maybe even 3-star guys and put like a Tavondre Sweat, right? A 3-star guy, put a lot of investment into their development. And then in 2-3 years, hell, we'll have a robust pipeline at that specific position. It won't have to go to the portal for it, because it's easier to get quarterbacks and wide receivers in the portal, running backs, corners in the portal, than it is to get quality linemen in the portal. So maybe you've solved that problem on your own with the extra scholarships. Also, I think you could decide, with those extra scholarships, like I said, ultimately, and you can do partials now too. Maybe you decide, you're going to go 90 or 95 actual scholarships and then have partials for the rest. I'm not sure exactly how you want to do the partial thing, but that's something to consider too. I think there's just multiple ways you can approach it.
No,
and it's all going to benefit Texas.
I think there could be stuff for like a guy like Sark too, where you could find guys that are athletes that may not be football players, or really good football players, and find guys like that and kind of go, well, we're going to give you a year to find your position and find what you can do, but you're a track star. We'll give you a full ride to come to Texas, and we're not expecting much out of you. We want you to learn the game for a year, whether it's a guy that's like just a big player like DJ Burns was, the basketball player for, that you saw NC State. Maybe that where you say, we're going to teach you how to play O-line and give you a year to do that, or just track people that you go with Sark loves fast guys. Let's see what you can do. And let's give you, now that we have a little bit more room, we can do this and kind of build you as an athlete. And maybe we'll be able to find a diamond in the rough a couple times. And since we have the money to do this, we're not really worried about it. We'll just bring in 1 or 2 guys a year. And if we find somebody all of a sudden that could be great that no one else finds, then that's perfect.
I like that idea too. Yeah, I think, you can, because now you actually do have more room to focus on development.
Yeah.
And at first you get the transfer portal guys, they want to leave, they're not playing. I think now with the new roster limits, I would focus on certain positions and develop those extra scholarships.
And like I said, you do track, or you look at a guy like Roshan, which was a quarterback who's very athletic, and you say, we're not really using you at quarterback, but we think we can do something with you. So why don't we get you on campus, and then we can really see what your skill set is, and whether you move you to defense, you move it wherever you are, we can find out in a year, as opposed to having to throw you in right away.
Yeah, maybe you start looking at more of those athletes now.
Yeah.
The guys who are just athletes coming in, but like, no, we can bring an athlete
can
now.
develop
Now we got a little more time, to develop them. It's going to be fascinating to see what they do. But there you go. That's the new roster limits for major college sports. All right, we come back. We'll get into some of the trends and some of the different plays and concepts that are really successful in the SEC. I've been trying to do more research about the SEC ecosystem, how Texas will translate and transition into that ecosystem. So I'm looking at the most successful plays in the SEC and which one of those plays actually are staples in Sark's offense. Then we look at success rates and see if Sark on those very same plays has a higher success rate than the SEC average. So we're going deep. We'll do that when we go behind the Burn curtain. Coming up next right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I've been doing some research on the SEC, just period. The conference as overall, the conference culture, the different concepts and plays that are successful there, the different signatures of the conference, and just trying to get a overall, just a 30,000-foot view of the conference, if you will, the new ecosystem that Texas is going into, and try to see if Sark is going to have to adapt more to the SEC, or is the SEC going to have to adapt more to Sark? And I'm hoping it's the latter. And so I've been looking at concepts in the SEC that are really successful, different plays based on success rate. Success rate is just when you can gain at least 50% of the yards needed for a first down to convert on first down, 70% of the yards needed to convert on second down, and when you can gain 100% of the yards needed to convert on third and fourth down. So achieving those, that essentially is success rate, and that's what we're looking at. So I was looking at from StatCast, basically the most successful third down passing concepts in the SEC. Third down, that's your money down, and looking at the success rates of those different plays and concepts, and then looking at Sark's playbook and seeing if there are some similar staples in Sark's playbook and the success rate that Sark has, and comparing that to the SEC average success rate on those plays, and seeing if his plays are more successful in the Big 12. Because I think if you're taking the very same play and concept, and Sark has a higher success rate than the SEC average, then the play might translate to SEC play. But if he's got a play that he's running, that they also run a lot in the SEC, and he's got a lower success rate than the SEC average, my assumption is if you can't run it successfully in the Big 12, you're not going to run it successfully in the line of scrimmage league that is the SEC. So that's the thought process. So of the top 9 most successful third down passing concepts in 2023, Texas has 6 of them, 6 similar staples in their playbook. So 6 of the 9. And of those 6 that Texas also runs, of the 9 most successful third down passing concepts in the SEC, 4 of them, Texas had a higher success rate than the SEC average. The first one is, they call it a slice usually, an Ohio slice, but basically it's an inside zone, it's an RPO, inside zone run play, and then there's a bubble RPO on the outside. So boom, if you got the numbers advantage in the box, you would hand it off. You don't have the numbers advantage in the box, you're going to pull it and throw to the bubble RPO on the outside. So the success rate for that play, 48% success rate on third downs for that play in the SEC for Texas. And they run a very similar one, inside zone, bubble RPO, 60% success rate on third and fourth down. That works. So it works really well in the SEC, and it works really well for Sark. That's something you'll see a lot of, and Sark loves the RPO. He calls his passing game an RPO-based passing game, run pass option. They'll run more of those. This is why when he was recruiting quarterbacks, fast hands and accuracy are the 2 physical traits that he looks for in the quarterback. The fast hands, so you would have sleight of hand when you're manipulating the mesh point, run the RPOs, having to throw from weird arm angles, and also the play action pass that he likes to use a lot of. That's the sleight of hand. So you want a quarterback with quick hands, so you can execute that. So that's the second most successful third down passing concept in the SEC, period. And it's really, and Sark has a higher success rate on average than the SEC success rate. So just says that's something that should translate really well. The number 3 most successful third down passing concept in the SEC is all curls. Just everybody run down the field. Everybody runs a curl route, 10 to 12 yards. You're going to hook it up. And the reason this is strange because Sark's offense actually executes the curl concept really well. In the SEC, the success rate for all curls on third downs is 47%. And Sark's, how about this? Success rate when running all curls on third and fourth down, 100% success rate. Now, this is the crazy part about it. He has an 83% success rate overall when they're running curls. Sark doesn't like curl routes. He's on the record openly saying he does not like curl routes. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he says, I recruit all this damn speed at wide receiver. When I got them running stop routes, they're the same speed as their slow DB that I want them to be running past. Why the hell would I make the DB's life easier by running stop routes when I got the fastest human being that ever ran a 40-yard dash out here playing wide receiver? Doesn't seem that up. And he's right about that. I like that. So he runs a lot of movement routes. He calls it his run to daylight philosophy. I think defensive coordinators know this as well. So they prepare their defense and their defenders with the knowledge that, hey, they're going to be trying to run past you and use all that speed. So when they do run a stop route, a curl route, it's wide the blank open. And Quinn's really good at throwing intermediate routes. He's brilliant from like 10 to 19 yards. And that's exactly where that curl lines up in. So the all curls, it works. Hey, 83% of the time, it works every time. So it works in the SEC and it works even better for Sark. How about this? Solo, the fourth most successful passing concept on third down in the SEC is what they call a Lucy slant. And the Lucy is a cousin of Lookie. That's what I was told as a DB. So a Lookie is when you basically run an in route and you're looking to see if you're open, if the quarterback's going to throw it. So you just run a little simple in by about at 5 yards. A Lookie, that's a Lookie. A Lucy is when you can bring it back out. Say the linebacker's occupying that space and you can go in and look, don't like what you see, then you can Lucy out. And it almost looks like a whip route at times. And that's Lucy. It almost looks like an option route at times too. Sark has a route combination called a trail shake, where he gives that inside receiver, that slot receiver, that option route. In the SEC, that Lucy slant is about a 43% success rate. For Sark, it's a 44% success rate on third and fourth down. That'll work. That translates. The fifth most effective, successful passing concept on third down in the SEC, corner smash combination. Essentially, corner route by the number 2 receiver or the inside receiver. If you're counting from the outside in, say you have twins or trips to one side, the number 1 receiver close to the sideline is going to run a hitch route, just a quick 5-yard stop and turn around. Or he can run a lookie. You can run a little 5-yard in as well. But the key is that you're going to run a really short, quick route with the number 1 receiver. Number 2 receiver is going to run a deep corner route. And Sark has different ways of running, but that's pretty much the building blocks of a smash combination of routes. And that works really well on third down in the SEC. 43% success rate on third down for Sark. He gets like a 7 route combination on 2 different plays. There's a Y cross. There's a drive. With both of those, you got a 50% success rate on third down with the drive concept. At the Y cross, you got an 86% success rate on third down. That works. That's money. I'll take that every time. So there are 4 concepts I found that are some of the disproportionately more successful on third down passing in the SEC than any other concepts. And those are also the same concept that Sark runs, that he has a higher success rate on average than the SEC success rate on those very same plays. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for things that are going to translate for Texas into this new ecosystem. And will the SEC have to adapt to Sark, or will Sark be more adapting to the SEC? And I'm hoping it's more the SEC adapting to Sark and what he does. All right, so there you go. Most successful third down passing concepts in the SEC, and which one of those also staples in the Sark offense that he should bring to the table when they make their SEC debut. All right, we come back. We'll get into Off the Record on the other side. Got some audio for Off the Record. Also got a crazy, wacky story. All that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Coming back on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Yes, traffic is always a bit frustrating, having to deal with traffic, but it is a sign that your city is growing and thriving, actually. More people keep moving to Austin, which makes the traffic even worse, but that's okay because as the city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482, and right now is the perfect time for you to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some off the record, and I'm so glad that Jim Harbaugh is back in the NFL because Jim Harbaugh brings a certain kind of energy with him, and it rubs some people the wrong way, but I love it. And we were just talking about how some people struggle with public speaking and and they have trouble expressing themselves in front of the media. Jim Harbaugh is not that guy. All right, Jim Harbaugh is comfortable in front of the media and always gives you gold because he gives you all these great quotes, all these kind of Harbaughisms. So let's play first the analogy he gives about day one of training camp. Can we get to this Harbaugh sound first? Oh, this is just typical classic Harbaugh. He was asked about training camp starting up, and here's his analogy to day one of training camp.
Just the way it feels, feels like New Year's Day, feels like being born, feels like coming out of the womb, it's like you're in there and it's comfortable and it's safe. And now you're out, you're born, the lights are on, it's bright, got chaos, people looking at you, people talking at you, and just feels good to have it happen.
I love his hardball analogies. They're great. Okay, so, and this is not, and this is related to the Michigan Ohio State rivalry. And I'll give you some context. So back in 2021, after the Michigan Wolverines beat Ohio State and they ended an 8-game losing streak against them in 2021, they beat them 42-27. Jim Harbaugh was asked to retort. He had a retort for a lot of the comments, the negative comments from the Ohio State side. And he tried to take the high road, but he couldn't resist himself. And he made this famous remark that we'll explain later is now part of his Chargers hype video. But here's the remark he made back in 2021.
What did? I mean, there's, I know that probably things you're thinking of the same as I'm thinking of, but I mean, let's move on with humble hearts, take the high road. But there's definitely stuff that people said that spurred us on even more. Sure. Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't.
Boom. And a lot of people thought he was describing Ryan Day, Ohio State. There you go. So as fast forward to today, and the Chargers released a hype video, getting everybody excited for the season, training camp starting. And listen to the Jim Harbaugh voiceover here in the hype video. Here it is.
None here were born on third base, but rather had to work their way to first, then second, then third.
Forget it, man. Forget it. We together, they can't stop us, man.
I love it. It goes over like a 90 seconds or so. But he took a shot. This a true Michigan man. Took a shot at Ohio State from a couple of years ago, just randomly as the Chargers head coach. Good job. Good job.
Just Harbaugh. Just hardballing it up.
It really is. This is such a hardball thing. It was brilliant, though. It's a great troll job. It's a classy troll job because Ohio State fans, they know he's talking. Y'all know who he's talking to. He's talking to y'all. He's talking to all y'all. Oh, it's great. Good stuff there, Jim Harbaugh. All right. There you go. Look off the record for you. Harbaugh related off the record. We actually got some other stories that are off the record related. We'll save them for the 9 o'clock hour and get into them. But in the 9 o'clock, also, we're going to hear from Kyle Shanahan. We got some audio of him on that TK podcast with Tim Kawakami. And he makes his remark about Bill Belichick. And then we find, and actually, that was something revealed, actually, a little, I don't know if Shannon meant to reveal this or not, but I think he revealed something that I didn't know about Bill Belichick's current projects that he's working on right now. So we'll get into that coming up next segment. We'll also dive into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. There's a Cowboys survey that I want to talk about. We'll also get into the Dak Prescott negotiations. Another NFL analyst is saying Dak's going to make more than $60 million. I've been trying to track these, and I've heard Adam Schefter say it now, and now another respected NFL analyst is saying that's going to make more than $60 million. We'll talk about that on the other side as well. We got Rod's rant of the day. We are loaded right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday on the Rodcast. That's when my co-host, the idea there, Patrick Davis, he comes up with a very creative theme for every Thursday, like he does with all the musically themed days of the week. But a new theme Thursday focuses on one particular theme and basically celebrates that theme all day long. And the theme for today is celebrating the Olympics on a new theme Thursday because we're now starting up the Olympics. We'll have the opening ceremonies coming up this weekend, and all the songs in some way, form, or fashion, they reference a sport. In the title of the song, they reference a sport that will be competed in the Olympics, and bicycle. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, Bicycle Race by Queen. A good one.
There you go.
Cycling.
I like it.
There in the Olympics.
Very creative theme by you. I like it. I like it. Challenging yourself on a new theme Thursday. Also, he's challenging you. That's the topic of the day, the big fat poll of the day. You can go check that out. Patrick, let people know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Which wide receiver would you draft first in fantasy football? We listed the top 4 there on X at the Horn ATX: CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. If you got another one you want to throw in there, go ahead and send it to us. You can put up there on X or on the text line. You can send that in, but right now it's pretty even still.
We're pretty close to split down the middle here, man.
Right now, Justin Jefferson has the lead at 28, Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb tied at 26, and Jamar Chase at 20.
I mean, I don't know if we've had a poll that's been this evenly split pretty much. I mean, you could get a quarter pretty much when it's all said and done for all these guys. I'm going with CD, but I can see why Justin Jefferson. I mean, that's right. He's the highest paid receiver in all of football because, I mean, he makes some special magical things happen out there. So I'm not going to, I wouldn't hate on anybody picking Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill right now tied at 26%, and Jamar Chase bringing it up the rear with 20%. So it seems like you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. Seems like if you're picking, number one in your league and you're taking either one of those 4, I think you're going to be okay, knock on wood, unless there's an injury or something to those guys. Even with the quarterback thing, I say that Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow was out most of last year. Jamar Chase still got like 1,200 yards, I think.
Exactly.
Like that.
He still did pretty well.
Yeah, so these guys are elite wide receivers. They will produce, and Justin Jefferson the same way. He's going to produce. And he'll make a quarterback look good. Yeah. I can't tell you how many quarterbacks DeAndre Hopkins made look good for the Texans. And that dude, I always called him Spanx. Like he could make something look sexy that was not very sexy. Yeah. He would slim you down and make you look sleek and turn the Schaub job into a great quarterback or wherever they had at the time.
Sage Rosenfels.
Exactly. You take all these
great quarterback names, Sage Rosenfels.
These misshapen and just not very attractive, you know what I mean, slovenly quarterbacks. And by the time DeAndre Hopkins was done with him, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget Tyreek Hill looks like he's playing for a contract.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he wants
he's not technically in a contract year, but from everything I've seen, his last year of his contract is very heavily loaded, but it's not guaranteed. So it will most likely be waived or re-signed, and that'll be wiped away or pushed out over several years, whatever the happening of how they figure out what to do. But he could be playing knowing that he wants a new contract within the next year.
Yeah, I've heard him hint at that a little bit, that he wants a new contract. Seeing all the receivers, I think he wants to be the highest paid receiver. I think it matters to him. And from what I'm hearing about a lot of the entanglements that he's found himself in,
he may need it.
Extramarital issues that he's got going on, extra baby mamas and stuff popping up, paternity suits and stuff. He might need to be the highest paid receiver in the league. I don't know how many of them he's got, but he's got.
He needs to run an out route every once in a while.
A stop route, huh? Right, just stop, man. Just stop. All right, there you go. And he's married to like Kenny Vaccaro's sister, I believe. That's one of his. I believe his main, if not his wife or fiance, is Kenny Vaccaro's sister.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So is a Texas connection there, unfortunately. All right, enough about that. Enough salacious gossip. I don't even know why that's top of mind. We got speaking of salacious, I guess that fits. We'll talk Cowboys on the other side. Why Dak is going to get north of 60. I keep hearing it, and so I'm starting to believe it. I always thought 60 was the magical number. Dak, well, he does have a lot of leverage, so maybe that's why he may get north of 60. We'll get into that. We'll also talk a little bit about the NFL. There are some other stories happening in terms of holdouts, hold-ins, contract disputes around the league. We'll get you updated and caught up with those. There's a Cowboys survey I want to get to, 2 questions particularly for Cowboys fans, and I'll give you the results of those 2 questions on the survey, and we'll dive into that. We got Raj Rant coming up a little bit later on in this hour as well. I want to play the audio of my man Kyle Shanahan, speaking about Bill Belichick, and he also revealed something that I think college football fans would be interested in about Bill Belichick, but we'll get into that too coming up here later on. But first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros salvaged a game against the A's 8-1 in their final trip to the Oakland Coliseum. Hunter Brown picked up another quality start in his 9th win of the season, pitching 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and only allowing 1 run. Alex Bregman reached base 3 times with 2 RBIs as part of the Astros 4-run 7. Houston now takes a day off for an interleague series with the Dodgers at Minute Maid Park starting Friday. And the Rangers got their 3rd straight win over the White Sox 10-2. Nathan Eovaldi, whose name has been started to be included in trade rumors the last few days, had a solid outing, pitching 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits with 10 strikeouts, earning his 7th win of the season. Corey Seager hit a home run in the 1st, and then the Rangers started to open up a lead with 2 runs in the 5th and another run in the 6th before blowing the game wide open with a 6-run 8th inning. Max Scherzer will get the start for the Rangers today after leaving his last start early due to arm fatigue, only throwing 53 pitches. The Rangers can sweep the White Sox. They would be within a game of 500 for the first time since June 2nd, and that's your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Appreciate those. All right, let's get to some of these NFL stories here. We'll get to the Cowboys in just a second because I know that's more of a discussion. But we talked about this yesterday. Brandon Ayuk is he wants a new contract, right? He has requested a trade. That's different than demanding a trade. And we were wondering if his presence at training camp would be a hold in. It was confirmed it's a hold in. So he's showing up at training camp for the 49ers, but he is not practicing or participating in practice. I believe he's just there meeting with the team, and he's there holding in. So I thought that would be the case. So you do have a hold in with Brandon Ayuk, but they got another problem now in San Fran that they didn't anticipate. Trent Williams is holding out. So they're basically their best player decided that he's the most important player on offense. And yes, guys, it ain't Christian McCaffrey, actually. Their most important player on offense, Trent Williams. And he wants more money. I haven't even looked at his deal and seen here. I got you a little bit of information on it because I went and started looking it up earlier. But if you go look at it, Trent Williams has 3 years, $77.2 million left on his contract. He's 36. However, the early full guarantees on the deal expired in 2024, or they expire this year. So he wants more guaranteed money. So it's like it's a lot of funny money left on his deal, and funny money. Trust me, folks, it's no laughing matter in the NFL, because that basically means the NFL can cut ties with you at any time, move on, and they have little to no basically obligation to have to pay you anything. And they won't do that with Trent Williams, but I think he's just making sure that he takes care of himself. And so he wants more, I believe, more guaranteed money. Like I said, there's 3 years left on the deal. And it's 2024, $20.9 million, 2025, $23.3 million, 2026, $33 million. He remains away from the team as he seeks a stronger payday. And I think he wants more multi-year security, which means he wants more guaranteed money. So they got to figure that one out and figure the Brandon Ayuk deal out. So that's the update there. What the hell is up with Lamar Jackson? I don't even know. Have you seen this reports about Lamar Jackson?
That he basically practiced for like an hour and then left?
Yeah, but he missed like the first 3 days of training camp because of a mysterious illness. And then when he came to practice, like you said, he was out there for like an hour and then had to leave practice. And I'm assuming for the mysterious illness. They say he just looked weary as he left. So I don't know. That's very strange.
Yeah.
Todd Monkey said we're going to work him back in for sure. I know I'm being kind of smartless. You'll have to ask him how he feels. He said, but he was great meetings when we were on the field at the start of practice. He said he was feeling good. I would say he has missed at least one practice in each of his 7 seasons with an illness during training camp. So I don't know what it is. So he basically hasn't practiced in training camp yet. We'll see today if any other reports come out. But yesterday, came out there for an hour, had to leave. So that's a little scary. Texans news in training camp. How about this? You know that kid they drafted, Jawar Jordan?
Yeah.
Apparently he looks really good. I say early in practice, he found a hole up the middle and screened through it, bursting into the second level. This comes from Cody Stutes, actually, who covers the Texans down there. Jordan escaped some pressure and broke a tackle with Henry To'oto near that was supposed to be a loss, but turned into a solid gain. It's another time he read the defense perfectly as he hit the hole. He changed gears, downshifting, allowing the defender to miss him, change of direction, change of pace. He also had some catches out of the backfield where he looked smooth. They said it was his best day yet at camp. They said it's something to watch if he ends up working himself into that rotation. Remember, Joe Mixon's dealing with like an injury right now. So Joe Mixon hadn't been fully available for the Texans either. They don't think it's anything serious, but they don't want to, exacerbate things, and they want to be careful and cautious with it. So he's getting a chance to show out because I think he's getting more reps. And then you got Dameon Pierce, and we've talked about it. This could be good news for the Cowboys who need a running back. If he shows out, and with the contract that Joe Mixon has signed the Texans, they'll be much more willing to make a deal. Cook Serio, who makes more deals than any GM in the league, they'd be much more willing to make a deal with Dameon Pierce and sending him to the Cowboys for a late round pick, something along those lines, if this young man works out. So the Cowboys should be rooting he works out because that'd be a nice, I think we both agree Cowboys need an upgrade, and I think they should do it via trade instead of waiting until everybody is cutting down their rosters on the final day of cut down day, because then you're going to get everybody's leftovers. No, go get Dameon. They may end up cutting Dameon Pierce. I don't know, but
and Dameon Pierce, by the way, like the reason I know, because I've talked to Cowboys fans, like, well, if you don't want him, why? He doesn't fit well into the run scheme that Bobby Slowick runs.
Yes, exactly.
He looked pretty good in his rookie season. It looked like there was a lot of potential in his rookie season. They changed the system up going into a sophomore season with Bobby Slowick. Yep. He just never fit into that system. So the thought would be you put him in a system where he can fit in better, which would be the Cowboys system with Mike McCarthy, that Texco system, that he would be a little bit better in that world. That's the reason why you believe he could work better for another team. Specifically, we mentioned the Cowboys, just because you made a deal with them before with Brandon Cooks. You need somebody. I mean, they could trade him to somewhere else, or the Cowboys could trade for another running back as well. But when you look at it and say that the Texans probably got to get rid of somebody, they signed Cam Akers as well.
That's right. I forgot about the Cam Akers.
So if they sign Cam and they want to keep him on the roster, but you're going to have to get rid of somebody at running back at some point. And then the Cowboys got to pick someone. But they may be waiting. They may be waiting to see who's going to get let go. And, I mean, they seem to be waiting on everything right now. So it wouldn't –
Seriously, they're just waiting for Godot. I mean, what is going on with the Cowboys? You're right about that. But yeah, that's exactly right, Patrick. It's not that, we're trying to foist Dameon Pierce off on the Cowboys. No. This is actually a trade that would work for everybody because he doesn't work with the Texans anymore, and he's a good player. Like, he was a good player, and the Cowboys need an upgrade at running back. And trust me, all he wants is a fresh start. He runs hard.
Yeah.
And Cowboys fans, I'm telling y'all would like the way David, as Pat said, he's just not compatible with the system they're running now. That's why they went out and got Joe Mixon. So I think it would work out. But you're right. They'll trade him to somebody else. Nick Caserio will trade him.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys could be the beneficiary, and then we would continue to keep talking about it.
And the reality is he may come into camp, and we know everybody else is looking good. We haven't heard yet that Dameon Pierce, it looks great. But, it may be an offseason where he spent a lot of time in the offseason learning that offense and fits in and can run it.
Yeah, Slowick said, and I heard Slowick talking about him, and he said he looks great, best shape ever, kind of the
training camp. He's in the best shape of his life.
He did kind of say that. Yeah,
because the shape was never the problem. It was always, can he find the hole and hit it?
No, he was a disaster in that zone running scheme. I mean, he was running in the back of linemen and stuff. He just didn't have the feel or the patience. And you can get better at it. There's no doubt. But there is a certain running style that is more compatible with the zone blocking running scheme, and that is not the style of Dameon Pierce. He probably needs more power, gap schemes, counters, things of that nature.
Which the Cowboys have been running more.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so those are a couple of nuggets. Oh, let's play the Shano thing, and then we'll get to the Cowboys discussion. Okay, so Shano, I love how desperate Shano is to win this Super Bowl, man. He is. He's desperate to get him one. Remember, he tried to recruit Tom Brady out of retirement, even after Brock Purdy was basically solidified as his starting quarterback. When Brock Purdy got hurt, tried to go get Tom Brady, even told Brock Purdy, if I get Brady, you going to be sitting on the bench. And Brock Purdy was like, I get it. He's the GOAT. Didn't work out. Tom Brady didn't want to come back. We all know how that worked out. But he did it again. So he's got a close relationship with Bill Belichick. At least the family does, the Shanahan family. So they have action. That's partly why you get the Jimmy Garoppolo trade that went down. So they got a lot of, kind of found respect for one another. And so he has communication with Bill Belichick. And here is Kyle Shanahan on the I think it's Tim Kawakami, his podcast. And he was talking about Belichick. And here is the offer, at least him talking about the offer that he made to Bill Belichick to be on his staff.
Speaking of coaching, I know how much respect you have for Belichick and how important he's been to you. Did you talk to him at all about an informal or even a formal role with this team this year?
I did. I threw it out to him he loves football so much that you never know what he would. I mean, I can't believe that he's not a head coach of a team right now. I know what I would do if I was an owner. So that shocks me. And the last thing you want to do is insult someone like Bill Belichick. But I know he just loves ball in the simplest form. So I threw it all out to him, like whatever he'd want to do. Yeah. I was like, would you be interested? And he was very nice and appreciative, but he politely turned me down. But I think he's helping out his son a little bit. I know he's involved in Washington up there and trying to start that help out with Jed Fish and what he's doing out there. And, it could be good too, because I'm sure he's going to be back in the league next year and I could be going against him. He could be in the NFC West. So it would have sucked if he came here and then he was going against us every week too. So that's stuff you got to be careful about. But he's the best. And I just like talking to him.
So two things we learned there. He offered him anything. You want to call plays or anything except my job. You can do anything around here except be head coach and offensive play caller. But you want to be the DC? It's pretty insulting to the guy he just hired as a defensive coordinator. Though. Kind of not insulting because it is Bill Belichick, but he just admitted that, I offered him your job. I'm offering people your damn job if I think they are more capable and obviously are a better candidate for the job. So I don't know if that guy, whoever he is, I don't know if he's going to be around for very long either. All right. And he revealed that Bill Belichick in his free time now, not only is he banging 20-year-olds, but he's also helping out the Washington staff and his son. That's the tidbit. I was like, oh, okay. You say to what extent, but I guarantee you Belichick's son is probably relying heavily on Pops to help him with some of the game planning for some of the upcoming Big Ten teams. Interesting.
Didn't the 49ers already fire the DC though from last season to go into the season?
Yeah, they did. I guess what they got to do is the new guy.
The new guy. So, but he may have offered him in between, right?
He might have offered him in between. I don't know. They didn't put a timeline on. They didn't say when.
Yeah.
They didn't say when. They didn't get into it. That's what I say. I want to know because I don't think it was that much time in between the firing of the other guy and the hiring of the new dude.
Yeah, because Nick Sorensen is a guy they promoted him
from within.
So
yeah. That's why I said I just wonder.
He didn't have a problem telling Brock Purdy if
that's what I'm saying. Like he's pretty upfront. Like, hey, dude, I'm benching you, dude. You know what I mean? So there's a good chance that maybe he did do it in between. There's also a good chance that he.
No, he told me, "Go look, you'll get the job again in a year because Bill's not going to be here for more than a year." But
that's probably true too. Yeah, same thing with Brady. He told Brady, he's like, "Dude, he's going to be here for a year, or two. Try to win the Super Bowl, and then after that, he's gone, and you're the guy."
Yeah.
So Shano's pretty upfront. I know the man personally, and he will keep it real, even when keeping it real goes wrong. All right, there you go. So a little nugget there about Shano and his relationship with Bill Belichick, offering him the keys to at least the defensive side of the ball. Let's talk Cowboys here. And I know we're up against it. We'll get into a little bit of the Cowboys, and maybe we'll save the Cowboys survey for next segment. But let's talk about the latest NFL analyst who has also stated that Dak's going to make north of $60 million. I was listening to Louis Riddick talk today. I was watching it this morning, but he was, I believe it's from yesterday's NFL Live. And he said pretty adamantly, Dak is gonna get north of 60. He said, and I won't bat an eye at it. And that just kind of comes on the heels of that other quote I read to you guys from Adam Schefter from a couple of days ago, when his quote was, Dak Prescott is going to get a deal north of 60 mil a year. It might be more, way more. And so, I'm like, okay, people keep saying he's going to get more. I thought we were pretty set. We were pretty, set on that 60. It's like, oh, the market right now, the top quarterback is making $55 million in the QB market. Okay, $5 million more. A leap of $5 million seems like perfectly reasonable. And that also for Dak Prescott would make him, obviously the highest paid quarterback in the league, highest paid player in the history of the NFL. So he would achieve all those different things. He can put that on his resume, and his agent can put it on his resume, more importantly. But now I'm hearing a lot more north of 60. And I thought 60, but now the north of 60 thing has got me thinking, I wonder if, they believe Jordan Love. If Jordan Love gets a contract that pays him $55 million a year and matches the Trevor Lawrence deal, I see Dak getting north of 60. Yep. I see it. He can get it regardless because he got so much leverage now. He's got so much leverage. He can name that ridiculous price. The three things could be happening here. He could be trying to, essentially now he's set the market, but he could be trying to almost reset the market, right? Where that's it. Because I got to go check and see what the usual increase is from quarterback to quarterback, and I'll go look at that when they sign a new deal. Like, what's the increase? But talking about a $10 million a year increase, like if he's getting 65 million or 63, 62 million a year, that would be quite substantial. So either he's trying to just reset everything overall, or he wants guaranteed money. He wants a lot of guaranteed money. What if he wants damn near the whole contract guaranteed? Remember, Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins are the only two quarterbacks ever signed fully guaranteed deals. Kirk Cousins signed one, and Deshaun Watson signed a fully guaranteed deal. That's it. And NFL basically ignores those precedents. That's like they never happen because they don't want to sign any quarterbacks to guaranteed deals. More and more quarterbacks want guaranteed money, at least a lot guaranteed money. And over the last 10 years, if you're going to spend a lot of guaranteed money, it means you got to spend a lot of cash. The Cowboys notoriously, they do not like to spend cash. They were 30th in spending. If you go look at it, the Cowboys ranked 30th in spending over the last 3 years. From 2016 to 2019, they were 32nd in cash spending. Talking about cash, straight cash, homie. All right, this is cash spending. So if you're going to give people a lot of guaranteed money, that means you're spending a lot of cash. It'll actually save you a little bit of stress in the salary cap, because it gives you a little salary cap relief, paying all that money up front and front loading these deals. But you got to have the cash, got to have liquid cash. And the last 3 years, the Cowboys, as I pointed out, they were 30th in cash spending from 2021 to 2023, 2016 to 2019. 2020 is a COVID year, so it's weird to find stuff in the COVID year. 2016 to 2019, they were 32nd in cash spending. And 2013 to 2016, they were 25th in cash spending. They don't like to spend a lot of cash. Jerry likes to keep his cash. He's like Scrooge McDuck. He wants to be able to swim in it. You know what I mean? And maybe, I don't know what he does with all of it, but they keep it. And so if he wants a lot of guaranteed money, then that could be the hold up. The Cowboys like, no, we're not giving that much guaranteed money because that's a lot of cash up front, and we don't work that way. Which they don't. I just gave you numbers.
Not only that, I can't imagine Jerry as one of the more, influential owners agreeing to a fully guaranteed. Just in that world of ownership, I can't imagine he'd be the guy to do it.
You're right. That's a good point. Because he wouldn't want because he's basically
he would lose all respect.
Head of the owners association.
Yeah, he basically all the owners would be like, no, we're not listening to you in any other rules now. Like you just screwed everybody.
Yep.
Because you gave Dak Prescott He's highest paid quarterback and most guaranteed money ever in a contract.
Yeah.
Like, what are we supposed to do? Because if we say there's 5 better quarterbacks, now we got to pay all 5 of these guys more than him. And when the next guys come up and they're better, we got to pay them 9 million more. Like, you can't set the precedent. Because Deshaun, we could go, it's the Browns, but you're the Cowboys. We can't let you do that.
Yeah, because you'll come up in every negotiation. No, it is. I don't know what it is. It's either that. Like I said, that could be resetting the market, want way more money than is, obviously expected in terms of the increase every year. It could be the guaranteed money. He could. I don't think he will. I don't think he wants to become a free agent. He could be trying to play hardball because he wants out. I doubt that's the case. Or the Cowboys could be lowballing him.
But we haven't heard that. We haven't heard them.
We haven't heard that. We haven't heard that from either side, though.
No, and we haven't heard the Cowboys really slamming either one of them, CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott. We haven't heard the information starting to leak out of these guys are asking for ridiculous salaries and look at what they've done and all that. We normally that's what you hear. And the Cowboys are good at it.
Yes, they play the media very well.
And so you haven't heard it, that's why it just seems off. Everything seems off. And it's as many people on the text line remind me all the time, you can't apply logic to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, but it is frustrating to follow and try and cover points.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Cause I wish I could. Yeah, I just said I wish that it made sense to me. Like I can't make sense out of it. Like usually it's like, oh, I understand what they're doing. Like remember when the Ravens were doing what they did with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
And everybody understood exactly what they were doing. I was like, yeah, we get it, man. They basically, and I thought the NFL would react differently, but the Ravens knew. They knew that they put the franchise tag on him, that no team would make a reasonable offer to acquire Lamar Jackson. They knew nobody, and I was wrong. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be a feeding frenzy. How many teams are gonna how many teams are quarterback hungry and quarterback needy teams, and they're tired of being in quarterback hell, and they're gonna go after him. 2 first-round picks and then having to pay him whatever top dollar is in the quarterback market. Oh, that's gonna be 4 or 5 teams out there. And literally it was the opposite. You had 4 or 5 teams come out and publicly say that they are not going to pursue Lamar Jackson. I'm like, what? Why aren't Atlanta Falcons doing that? Why wouldn't
we could have had Lamar and Bijan?
Yes, and yet you had teams come out publicly, excuse me, and deny that they would even show interest or even do due diligence into acquiring Lamar Jackson. I thought to myself, damn, that sounds like I don't know. I mean, some people would say there's some shady going on. Some people would say, okay, the only reason the Ravens would take that chance, because my comparison was that's a decent proposal. That's allowing your woman to go out there and bang some dude so you can get $1 million, and then expecting her to somehow, be loyal to you and come back to you. That's a dangerous situation. If you've ever seen the movie, all right, to put yourself in. That's what the Ravens did. They had no regret, and I don't think they had any fear at all. No. Of losing Lamar Jackson.
Is that what Lamar Jackson's sick of? He's sick of their BS.
Right. They paid him, but they made it like this. The Ravens won that negotiation because that was a really savvy move, which I thought the NFL would react differently, and that's why I still don't understand the move. It still was stupid. Somebody should have offered to trade for Lamar Jackson and pay him, but at least we knew what the motive and method was for the Ravens. We have no idea what the motive is and the method for the Cowboys. Like, I don't know what it is. Why would you wait this long? Why isn't the deal done with at least one of those two, Dak or CD? And now you have CD holding out, which that implies y'all weren't that close. I thought they were close. And, the hold in, I'd be like, they close. That's why he's holding in. They right there. Yeah. I think the reason Ayuk is holding in is because the offer is $28 million. He wants 30. He's like, well, they close. All right. We can make that up. And the hold down implies maybe they're not close. I'm not saying that they're not, but that's what it implies. And remember that Calvin Watkins reported there has been no substantial talks. Well, substantial would mean you're close if you've had substantial talks. He said there have not been substantial talks. So there have been shallow, unsubstantiated kind of talks going on. Like basically superficial, not very progressive discussions happening between CeeDee Lamb's people and the Cowboys.
Yeah. I think it was a Stephen Jones line. You think they're around the rim? With
around the rim, yeah,
we're around the rim. We're right there. We're right there. We're around the rim and winning a Super Bowl. Is that how they are with these contracts? They're as close on these contracts as they are to winning a Super Bowl. Take that as you will.
Like I said, around what rim? Toilets have a rim too. Which rim we talking about? Toilets have a rim. Yeah, I know basketball hoops have one, but so I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. I'll admit that, but Dak's gonna get paid upwards of even more than $60 million. That's what not a lot of the reports are saying. All right, we come back. We got the Cowboys survey that we'll dive into on the other side. We'll get into the Cowboys survey. 2 questions in particular that I think shed a light on the mental state of Cowboys fans. We'll discuss that. We'll also dive into some other sports topics from the day. All of that and more when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. I want to get into this Cowboy survey that I saw. John Machota published this on The Athletic, and he had 12 different questions. We won't go through all 12. I just want to go through 2 of them, actually, and the responses. So there were 12 different questions, over 1,000 folks that ended up responding to these questions. And the two questions I want to get into from this fan poll. So it's a Cowboys fan poll. The first question, if only one of these players could be on the team in 3 years, who would you want it to be? The choices were Micah, CeeDee, and Dak. And Micah got the most votes. 52%, actually close to 53% of Cowboys fans said Micah is the player of those three that they would want on the team in 3 years. CeeDee Lamb got the second most votes. 34% of those who voted said they want CeeDee Lamb to be the player that's there of the three in 3 years. And Dak got the least amount of votes. Only 13% of the fans who voted in this fan poll said that Dak would be the player of those three that they'd want on the team in 3 years. Most overrated player on the team, choices being at least the top three choices here is Zeke, Micah, and Dak. Dak got the most votes for the most overrated player. 251 votes. Second place was Micah, actually 152 votes. But Dak got damn near 100 more votes than the second place person, which is Micah, in terms of being the most overrated player. Cowboys fans are still, even after this season, man, they're still pretty split on Dak. And like I said, ultimately, it's because Cowboys fans, I think, believe they settled for Dak. And they believe that Dak will always be limited, right? That fourth round stigma, it does stick with Dak. Like I said, it reminds me of, I said this before, reminds me of that Chris Rock bit. Chris Rock has a great bit on one of his stand-ups where he talks about marriage and how some marriages are really, depressing, and sometimes the woman can be really mean to the dude, and the dude's trying his best to make the woman happy, and nothing that he does will make her happy, and she's very judgmental and constantly, criticizing him and treating him badly and being mean to him, mean-spirited. And he said the reason that, he said, if this is you, not everybody, if this is you, he said, I'm gonna tell you the reason why your woman hates you so much. He said the reason your woman is so mean to you, he says, because you were not her first choice. There was somebody out there that was her first choice, and she settled with you and ended up with you, and she's taking it out on you. She's taking out her unhappiness on you. That's what's going on. And it's interesting because I feel like that's Cowboys fans. I feel like that's Cowboys fans in a nutshell. I feel like Cowboys fans, ultimately, they feel like they settled for Dak as a fourth round pick. And ultimately, they all off season and all football season, they take it out on Dak. The fact that they settled for him, that he ultimately wasn't and would never be their first choice. And I feel like Romo had a very similar tenure there with the Cowboys, because I was a Romosexual, so I remember all the Romo hate, and I'm a big Dak fan, so I know all the Dak heads out there, and they don't like Dak. And now the reasons to not like Dak, there are fewer and fewer of them. And now it's basically he hadn't won enough in the playoffs, because you can't get on about being a regular season quarterback anymore. It's basically that he hadn't won enough in the playoffs. And it's the same thing that comes down to Romo too. So I'm not saying that the disdain and dislike is unwarranted. No, you feel how you want to feel. They should win the playoffs. That's their damn job. They get paid good money to do it. But I am saying the initial angst and the initial criticism that Dak and Tony Romo get, it was initially unfair. Now, like I said, now it's about them winning in the playoffs. So it's about Dak winning in the playoffs now. Tony Romo didn't win enough in the playoffs. But initially, they were all both of those guys, I would say, because I think they were kind of in a similar situation. One's a fourth round pick, one was undrafted. I think fans' perception of them was always, oh man, those guys, they were never the prince that was promised. They were never the guys with the first round ceiling and the first round potential. And that Dak ultimately now, as a fourth round pick, he's a quarterback that the Cowboys had to settle on, which means that all the underachievements and the overall with the Cowboys, their lack of success, and I mean success like getting to Super Bowl and making playoff runs, that kind of success, that is due to Dak's limitations. Even though it's not all Dak's limitations, some of it may be, but it's not all Dak. But it for Cowboys fans, that's the first place that they go to. A lot of the Cowboys fans said, nah, it's Dak, man. Dak's just not the guy. Now, I will say that if you have the right quarterback, they can cover up a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
They can make up for a lot of organizational mistakes. They can uplift the coaching and the play around them. And, that's also something we've seen all-time great quarterbacks do. But, it's interesting for Dak. I think Dak's dealing with the blowback of Cowboys fans believing his limitations are the reason that the Cowboys are limited and have underachieved. And I don't know if that always correlates. I don't know if that's always the case.
No. And I mean, we can say
it's so deeper than that.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, winning playoff games, winning Super Bowls is more than just a quarterback. There's 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now that have won starting quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, and Patrick Mahomes. Those are the 3 that are left. Because Tom Brady won a bunch of those and he ain't there anymore.
Yep.
So there's just not a lot of quarterbacks who have won highly at that level. But yeah, I think there's a certain part where fans are always going to look at Dak Prescott and whatever he achieves, that's the highest he can ever achieve. And you look at some other guys that are, when you're a first round pick, then there's always potential. And we'll bring it back with the Chris Rock pick. To paraphrase the Chris Rock bit, is that if you're a first round pick, the sky's the limit. And if you're a 4th round pick, the limit's the sky.
I love that. It is. It's so true. Yeah, it's exactly right. Like Dak this year, nobody saw Dak ever being second in the MVP voting and a second team All-Pro.
No.
And now Cowboys fans who don't like Dak have to justify that somehow. And I think the easiest way is, well, look what he did in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's his limit. See, that's the limitation. To your point, it's like that. See, that's his limitation now. He can only get so far in the playoffs. Like, well, at first you thought the limitation was he could never be an elite. He could never play like an elite quarterback at all. And he showed you that he's got the capability to play at an elite level. You just want to see that elite level of play on the biggest stage in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That just may be a step he's getting to, because you must recognize that he also is getting better, which you'll never see the Dak heads and haters want to admit. It's like,
yeah,
has he gotten a lot better? It's like, oh, he's gotten a whole lot better. He's actually might be playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league. But if they admit that, then they also have to admit, like you said, he's got a higher ceiling.
Exactly. No, and I mean, it's funny because like you look at that game and you'll talk to 2 different camps of people. One, which was the team played really bad, and one, Dak played really bad. Yeah. And you're like, well, they allowed 40-something points. Well, because he kept giving him the ball back. Yeah, they still allowed 40-something points. Like, that's not all. You can't put 40-something points on the quarterback.
Yeah, you're right.
You can
Dan
say,
Quinn did not
you can say 20,
yeah,
but you can't say 40.
You can't say 40. 40? Yeah, nobody gets on Dan Quinn for that performance. And I love me some Dan Quinn, but that was terrible.
Micah Parsons had a terrible game.
Terrible game. Yep. And Micah hasn't shown up in the playoffs yet, really, for you.
No.
And yeah, Cowboys fans don't criticize Micah like that. Now his quarterback is a bit different, but I just think Dak, it's been that criticism has been unfair. There is some criticism that is very fair. Playoff stuff, 100%. That is very fair. Some of the other criticism of Dak, especially, with what he's done in the regular season and the development that we've seen from Dak, I think it's been unfair that, Cowboys fans have been so hard on him and put so much of the Cowboys, like I said, lack of postseason success, lack of championship success, put that on Dak Prescott, because that was the case before Dak Prescott, even with Tony Romo, and I like me some Tony Romo, but that was the case with Tony Romo too. So yeah, I think for Dak though, this $60+ million a year, it's, man, I don't know what it's gonna do for him in terms of the perception in the court of public opinion, but this is a big year for Dak. I think he'll get the deal done before that. There's no way the Cowboys allow him to play on the last year of that deal. But man, he's about to be the highest paid player in history of the NFL.
I know, but we keep saying there's no way they're going to do that, and then they do it. So
there's no way
they were going to let Dak Prescott wait to be the last quarterback signed in this cycle, and that is what they've done.
Man. If they get to week 1 and Dak Prescott does not have a deal,
I'll be extremely surprised. I'm with you. I'll be extremely surprised.
If they get to the preseason game number 2, number 3 without it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking preseason game 1 is still 2 weeks away, right? 2.5 weeks away.
So preseason 2 or 3, that'll give you a month. If it's not done by then, like I said, I'd be flabbergasted. I still don't know what the Cowboys are doing, but then you'd be interesting entering kind of the doomsday scenario there for the Cowboys. Because then I'd wonder if Dak would feel like disrespected and would want out, because he would definitely have the avenue to take it. He would definitely have an exit strategy if he wanted to take it. He's given himself one. No trade clause, no franchise tag. Last year, my contract. Man, nobody's got more leverage in the NFL right now than Dak Prescott. Nobody. So he can do what he wants to do. Hopefully, for Cowboys fans, it's play with the Cowboys. But some Cowboys fans, I know that someone wants them to blow it up. I know some Cowboys fans out there that they legitimately are like, no, let's blow it all up. Think about it, though, guys. Jerry Jones, he'd have to be cool with blowing it up and then witnessing a rebuild and realizing that it's possible he may not live to see the benefits of the rebuild.
Yeah, but the rebuild, I'm telling you, if you trade Dak and CD, the rebuild is pretty expedited, because you could trade them two and Deron Bland and probably end up with 3 to 4 first-round picks, right?
Yeah, you should. 4.
And so if you have yours, then you don't play great this season. You get 5. So you now with a bunch of first-round picks, you can go add all these pieces. They draft historically pretty well. You're able to bring in some other pieces. You maybe trade up to get the quarterback you want, do whatever you want to do. You can try and be back in the world in 2 years, which is not that long.
No, you got to hit like the Texans did, though.
You got to hit. I agree.
But
but again, if you re-sign Dak and that doesn't hit, and you've now paid him and CD and Micah Parsons a combined in 3 years $150 million.
Yeah, no, but the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys are an entertainment product.
It's true. Yeah,
more so than a competitive one.
No, that's really the problem.
You got to have something to sell, and I think he would be worried that I don't have enough to sell.
Yeah.
If he got rid of Dak in that matter, but you're right. Listen, the rebuild shouldn't take as long as it used to, because we just saw the Texans do it they did it in 4 years, and they screwed it up a couple of times along the way, and still did it in 4 years. So the Cowboys could do it, but you got to hit on that QB. And I'm just afraid they wouldn't hit on if you miss on a quarterback, you can miss on other positions and be okay. But if you miss on that quarterback you draft, damn, your rebuild, you got to start it all over again. Scary thought. Like the Giants are about to do that. Like, because they missed on Daniel Jones, and they know, like, yeah, this ain't working. Oof. And it's like being in a relationship that y'all are going to break up, like, at one point. Like, you're in a relationship and y'all are going to break up. You just don't know when. You're like, this is not going to work. We're definitely going to break up. We're not so toxic. We're going to break up tomorrow or next week or even next month, but we're definitely going to break up.
Did you see? We needed to break, but did you see that Saquon said he didn't know he was being recorded on that conversation?
What conversation?
The one that we were playing with the GM, where they showed the GM side of it. Saquon's like, I didn't know you were recording.
Oh, I didn't realize
more
that.
Giant stuff of them not knowing how to run a football program. That is crazy.
That is crazy. And that's like a legal thing.
Borderline illegal, yes.
Every state has different laws about that. Wow. Yeah. Just a disaster. All right, we come back. We'll have who said that on the other side? That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice itself. Hopefully you can identify and recall who said that. We'll play that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. New theme Thursday. That's when Patrick plays songs that all celebrate, reflect a creative theme that he comes up with every Thursday. So we appreciate him. And the theme for this Thursday, the Olympics. They are upon us. We will have the official opening ceremonies coming up this weekend, and everybody's excited to yell USA, USA, USA. In every song, in the title of every song, it is a song title that mentions or refers to a specific Olympic sport.
Yes.
Which one is this one?
Holy Diver. It's the name of the song.
Oh, well done. That's good. Holy Diver. I like that. Also, go check out the topic for the big fat poll of the day. Already posted. There is which wide receiver would you draft in fantasy football? If you missed one, you can obviously post that hot take below in the comment section. The leader right now, Justin Jefferson, the highest paid receiver in the league. 30% of the votes going with him. Then 25% split between CD and Tyreek Hill, and Jamar Chase bringing up the rear at 20%. Go check that out at the Horn ATX account. All right. Before we get out of here, it's time to play Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice itself, or hopefully you can just recall and identify who said that.
Like to start out by giving my wife a shout out. Summer, I know she's watching. We just, had our third child, first little girl, and we induced early to make sure we were here today. So I would not be here if it wasn't for her and that decision and a real coach's wife decision right there. So appreciate you.
No doubt. Coaches' wives are a certain type of breed. There is a special kind of breed. That was G.J. Kinney, head coach at their Texas State. And man, just induced just so you could be there for media days, not a game.
Yeah.
Not a game. Media days. That's what I say. Coaches' wives.
Yeah.
They're a special group.
Hey, I want to be there, but this is what my schedule looks like. So
that is that's like I said, that's pretty amazing. So he's got to keep
it is their third. I think first maybe that wouldn't have been the decision, but third I think she went.
Yeah.
I know what we're doing now, and I don't want to be in labor for 2 days either. So
that's true. She's a veteran. I don't know how the first two went. It is a first girl, he said. So I guess I don't know. That's I know. I just dealt with a woman who we had a baby, and man, I would not dream of telling that woman when to have that baby. Like I would, no way, hell no. So I'm sure that she was probably her suggestion, or at least he was able to convince her that it was the best course of action.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to be there. Okay.
Yeah. Either way, that conversation did not go well.
He did phrase it correctly. He said, "I wouldn't be here if she did."
Yeah, there you go. And he started out one of the first things he said. He had to thank his wife and thank mama, because he already knew, like, no, man, if I don't do that, trust me, she will be upset. All right. Thank you very much, Patrick. We appreciate everything you do, brother. Thank you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, same place. Hook 'em. In peace.